Oh, hey, everybody. Today we're debating whether or not the moon landing was a hoax, and we are starting right now with Flatzoid and Marcus Allen. Thanks for being with us. Flatzoid, the floor is all yours for your opening.
Hey guys, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Thank you for this debate. I did prepare for something else, but more than happy to uh, move over to the moon landings. I just want to quickly get my presentation up if I can find where it is. I had it up. Okay. Sharing screen, but I really appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate Marcus for being my partner as well. I look up to him tremendously when it comes to the moon landing things. So thank you, Marcus, for this. And everybody, I hope you enjoy this. This is an old presentation. So let's go through it. We have about 6 minutes each. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So why the moon landings never happened? Well, the arguments I have against the moon landings are simple. According to the second law of thermodynamics, if the Earth is considered an open system, the air on Earth would seek the available space presented to him. So if they were able to go to the moon, they would have to violate the second law of thermodynamics and therefore claim that they are able to demonstrate that gravity that's not a force or seen as a force for 110 years would be able to hold gas down indefinitely and thus overcome entropic law. Okay, so if Earth was considered a closed system, the air wouldn't be able to leave and there we can breathe, but then also the astronauts would not be able to leave Earth to go to the moon. So now I've got an argument for why I say astronauts are lying. If you look at Donald Petit, he claims to have seen the stars and nebula and so forth with space because we have a lot of differences in what the astronauts claim to see while they are in space. Mike Missimano says he also claims that Donald Petit has seen the stars, nebula, and so forth from space. Neil Armstrong claims it's pitch black and you see no stars, which is odd. Then you have Buzz Aldrin. He claims space is a deep black, but with a velvet sheen to it. Chris Hadfield, he's the one that says space smells like steak, burnt steak or something. He also claims space is deep black with a velvet sheen to it. Michael Collins is actually an interesting one because he can't remember seeing any stars. I would imagine if you're going to a place that you're excited to go for, you're going to remember if you see stars or not. And he later stated that he did see stars in a book after, but it's weird because it's doublespeak. So why would they all contradict one another's observation if they really did go where they claim to go? Stars or not, no stars, which one is it? Secondly, the Van Allen radiation belts would give major problems to the film used in the Hasselblad cameras. The Apollo detectives, woohoo, you guys rock, tested film with radiation and found it to fog the film with a green tint to it. Do we see these aberrations happening to the film based on the Apollo missions? No, we don't. Also, the film, when it's exposed to radiation, it usually messes up, and that's why you usually have X-ray bags to protect it. So, how did they get professional perfect shots, which would be difficult even for normal amateur photographers today without that bulky spacesuit? How did they get it right with not even being able to move their fingers correctly? Also tested in a vacuum, it found changes in contrast and color balance, which would make sense because in a vacuum, liquids tend to gas out and therefore you get these effects, as you can see. And then also you get, they refuse to swear on the Bible. And then also you have to accept this guy, Gary Fong, is a very well accepted professional Hasselblad photographer. He says it would be impossible to work. How would you change the film in a dust environment? If everybody has worked with a film camera, you would understand that you have to keep it as uncontaminated as possible with light or debris. So as soon as they're opening, remember, the astronauts even have their suits so fine that the fine particles even get through all that they have issues for long-term breathability. Is bad for the lungs. So imagine that going into the fine parts between the dust for the film. How do you change film in a vacuum? That's exactly what I'm saying. If you look at the temperatures, that's also a huge problem. And then at violet, that's practically all I had for my thing, then you can go ahead, Marcus.
Thanks, Flack. You've promoted the Apollo detectors very nicely, for which I'm much appreciative, being one of them myself. And you've covered the major problems, except maybe one, the heat in space. We're all told that space is a vacuum, it has no temperature, which is correct until you put something in space to have a temperature, such as a spaceship. Then it has a temperature. But humans can only really operate productively at around 20 degrees centigrade, 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's an ideal temperature for humans to work at. If the internal temperature of a spacecraft in space, heated by the radiant energy of the sun, which can be calculated at 246 degrees Fahrenheit, about 120 degrees centigrade, you've got a non-working environment. You've got a very good temperature to cook a chicken at, but not for humans to work. So you have to remove the heat. Vacuum, as you mentioned, is a very good insulator. So where do you dump the heat? You can't dump it in a vacuum. You have to irradiate it away. It's the only way to remove heat in a vacuum. In order to radiate heat away, you have to have an equivalent temperature. You get the spacecraft receives temperature, it absorbs it, it also eliminates it. So what's the temperature in the middle where those two things happen? 246 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a real problem. So you can use water, you can allow water to evacuate into space, and it will have a reduction in temperature. But you've got to have quite a lot of water to do it. And there wasn't enough carried, certainly not in the spacesuits. And this is one of the major problems. The other being, as you've already mentioned, photographic film. Here is photographic film. Photographic film was what was used on Apollo. It was using ectochrome transparency material. Reversal film is otherwise known as. And the example you showed of the testing that was carried out using photographic film in a vacuum demonstrated that the emulsion, which started life as a liquid, outgasses, and it affects the color balance of the film. But we don't see that happening on any of the 5,771 photographs allegedly taken on the lunar surface. That doesn't seem to apply. Yeah, some of the pictures don't show very much. Some of them are slightly out of focus, but they don't show vacuum damage, let alone radiation damage. Radiation is what creates photographs. It affects the emulsion coated onto a film. The emulsion starts life as a liquid, which it does, and it then can outgas, which it does, in a vacuum. The film will not work. Digital cameras, on the other hand, are quite different. We should not confuse the two. Digital cameras and film cameras are completely different systems. They should not be confused. And if they are, somebody is misleading you. So you've got the heat, the radiation, and the vacuum. Those are the three major problems. They weren't overcome at the time of Apollo, and they haven't been overcome now. The records that NASA have available, and we've studied a great deal of them, thousands of pages, the testing was conducted by Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Kodak, Arizona State University. Many people around the United States were conducting tests for NASA, and the tests were very accurate. When they tested film, they said the film must be protected. It will be damaged in space. Now, one of the criticisms of the idea that NASA faked the moon landings is that how do you keep this secret from the 400,000 people who worked on Apollo? It's very simple. They didn't have a secret to keep. They were doing the very best job they could. It's not 400,000 people it was probably nearer 2 million people. 400,000 people were directly employed by the many contractors around the America, because one of the purposes of Apollo was to spread the work right across America, from Seattle in Washington state, where Boeing made the rockets, down to California, where a lot of the testing was done, right across to Texas, where the control center was, up to Florida, where the launching was taking place, up to New York, where Grumman were building the lunar landers, right across America. There were thousands of people involved, and they were very proud to work on this program, as set out by John Kennedy in May 1961. He was now a martyred president. He was dead. Therefore, they wanted to fulfill his order to land a human on the moon and return him safely to the Earth. Landing a man on the moon was not really a problem. Humans hadn't been on the moon. Robot satellites had been launched. Robot equipment had been launched. It's not difficult. They can be protected. I've toured satellite manufacturing facilities and I've asked them, how do you protect against radiation? They said it's very simple. We use lead, we use gold, we use various known levels of protection against the electronics, and they work. Temperatures are not a problem for satellites. Temperatures are a problem for humans. You have to place Apollo in the context of its time, late 1960s, early 1970s. What else was happening? The Vietnam War was getting extremely unpleasant. The Cold War was ramping up deliberately. The space race was ongoing. America had to be seen to succeed. Therefore, they faked it on the grounds they couldn't do it. They didn't have the facility, they didn't have the experience, they didn't have the engineering understanding to put humans, I'm not talking about unmanned craft, I'm not talking about satellites, I'm talking about human beings, us delicate little creatures who need a lot of protection when we're out in space. They couldn't provide it. So they had to fabricate it live on television, don't forget, it's all live on television. Yeah, I've seen gorillas climb the Empire State Building live on television in King Kong. I've seen dinosaurs chasing kids around kitchens in Jurassic Park. Is that real? No, of course it's not. I've seen men walking on the moon. Is that real? No, of course it's not. I'm not saying Hollywood had much to do with it. Some of the technicians involved may have been consulted, and they certainly were, because it was necessary. The filming of Apollo 11 was more than likely done at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico, near Clovis. There's a life-size creation of the Sea of Tranquility called at Cinder Lake, near Flagstaff in Arizona. There's no reason to believe that they weren't trying to do it, but they couldn't succeed. They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the ability. So my personal summary of the whole Apollo moon landings is that it was a brilliantly executed propaganda exercise to demonstrate to the world the superiority of American technology. In that, it succeeded brilliantly. Landing man on the moon, forget it. Hasn't happened. Didn't happen then, hasn't happened since.
Thank
So
you very
Apollo,
much. Sorry.
okay. I hope that presents my position fairly accurately. I'd like to hear some criticism of it.
Thank you very much for that opening statement. And just a couple of quick housekeeping things before we jump into the opening from the moon landing supporters. Want to say, if it's your first time here, welcome to Modern Day Debate. We are a fully neutral debate platform. I'm your host, Dr. James Coons. We are excited to have you here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for many more upcoming debates. You don't want to miss them. With that, we're going to kick it over to Fight the Flat Earth and Darryl. Want to say a huge thank you to all of our speakers for being here. Fight the Flat Earth, and Darryl, the floor is all yours.
Darryl, would you go first or second? Up to you.
You go ahead, FTFE.
No worries. Right, I'm going to switch camera over, James, so I can present what I'm showing.
You got it.
Right. So let me get this up so it's on the right screen. One sec. No, that's not the right screen. No, it's still not the right screen. Sorry, my computer has frozen. One sec. Of course it has.
No problem. Folks, if you haven't
There
yet,
we
hit
go.
that like button. We appreciate your support, and hitting like does help us out, so we appreciate that. And Fight the Flat Earth, floor is all yours.
Okay, I'm really not gonna with all the conspiracy about trying to prove that America was great and all that. I just go with evidence that's available and look at that. And the killer evidence that for me destroys any notion the moon landing didn't happen is this video. And this is Apollo 16, and they call it the Grand Prix. And this is a really good shot. The moon buggy goes back and forward in front of the camera, and you see the stuff shooting up from the back of the wheels. The stuff shooting up from the back of the wheels is the important part, because they form what is known as a rooster tail. If we can actually pause it at the right point, maybe get it here. As it goes along, it shoots up the dust behind it, the regolith, in a very particular pattern that's called a rooster tail. And if you watch here, just at the back wheel, as it shoots up, you see that very distinctive pattern. That is, you might not realize it, but that's the killer. That pattern coming off the back of those wheels destroys any notion that the moon landing didn't actually happen. It's been analyzed, and the analysis basically shows that the trajectory of the particles coming off the back of the wheels shows two things. One, that it was in an atmosphereless environment. Otherwise, they would have shown resistance, and they didn't. They followed a trajectory that showed that there was no resistance. It was a simple parabolic trajectory. And they followed a trajectory that matched a gravitational acceleration of what they would expect on the moon. And they compared it with what you would have on Earth. This particular graph here measured dust trajectory clip 1, which is literally from the clip that I just showed here, shows all the blue dots are the particles that they have identified and followed the trajectory of. They fall within the two curved lines that show the gravitational potential on the moon. If on Earth, you would either have these two green lines. That was what you would expect on Earth, depending on the speed and the conditions on Earth. It shows air resistance, and it shows a much quicker acceleration towards the ground, which is what you would expect on Earth. But every single one of those particles traveled in the trajectory that showed there was no resistance, and it was in an environment where the gravitational acceleration was much less and matched what we expect on the moon. And that's basically it. For me, that is the absolute killer. The only response is, well, they faked it. Well, if they faked it, how did they remove the atmosphere from this entire massive thing? That would need to be answered, because this was filmed in something that had no atmosphere. And the proof is the analysis that has been done on those trajectories of the particles. So either they built a massive studio, removed all the atmosphere from it, and somehow reduced the acceleration towards the ground, or this was filmed in an environment where the trajectory was dictated by having no resistance and a gravity less than we have on Earth. And that's it. For me, that is the absolute killer. I've gone through so many moon landing denying nonsense, and this is it. There's no response for this that matches the physics of the universe that we live in that can debunk it being on the moon. And with that, over to you, Darryl. I think you're muted, Darryl.
My fault. Sorry about that. Let me switch it over. I was just getting a little bit of feedback, so I muted everybody. Darryl, I just asked you to unmute. And then what we'll do is later, if we're able to fight the flat earth, I'm sure that these photos will come up again. Is that people had said that the resolution was because I had to stretch it so much because it was just your screen showing it. If you're able to use
the link to that, James, so you're able to, if you would like to put them up at any time. But yeah, if you need them displayed again, I can make them more clear.
You got it. And Darryl, the floor is all yours as well.
Is everything sharing okay?
Yes, I just have to adjust a little bit because 2 moments. And then I think what we'll do maybe the rest of the debate is if everybody just uses the standardized screen share. I'm just going to quick adjust to the standardized screen share again. Thanks for your patience. And Daryl, the floor is all yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Darryl E Berry Jr. It's a pleasure to be back on MDD. Good to be debating with Fight the Flat Earth. I'm a fan, and good to have James be a moderator again. It's been a long time. So I'm a physics student, astronomy student. Some of you all know that from our last time. So I can't say I'm an expert on moon landing, but I'm familiar with the topic a bit. So we'll be debating the moon and whether the astronauts went to the moon. And basically, two things come to mind for me when I think about how we know or understand that the moon landing happened. So one is the fact that we have satellites in space. China has satellites in space right now where they're taking pictures of the moon landing locations, the location spots. They could see the effects of the astronauts being there. So that's one thing right there. Another thing that we have as far as moon landing, at least knowing that we went there, is the fact that and hold up, see why my screen is sticking. If I need to stop sharing one moment here, so I could get this to. There we go. So hopefully that still stays the way it was. Another thing that we have is we have the laser reflectors that the astronauts left on the moon. So basically, when they were there, they left these laser reflectors on the moon that are built in such a way that when light goes into it at any angle, it's reflected back back at the source of the light. So these things are designed similar to how the plastic or glass structure is on our tail lights, for instance. So that if somebody's coming in behind us and they flash at night, the light that's coming from that car will go back to them so they can see us there rather than bouncing off at an angle. So a similar technology, but more advanced, was used on the moon, and people have utilized those reflectors ever since they were left there to shine laser light there to find out exactly how far the moon is away from us. That's why we have very exact distances for the moon. We could use those things to, for instance, predict lunar eclipses, solar eclipses with the distances and calculating everything. So those are two things that come to mind that are pretty clear that we went there. So I look forward to doing as Marcus said and challenging them on some of the things they presented.
Thank you very much for that opening as well. I want to say, as I mentioned, huge thank you to our speakers. They are professionals. They have done a tremendous job. I want to encourage you folks, check out their links in the description box. Be aware that their links are in the description box right now. What are you waiting for? But we're going to continue on with the debate. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The floor is yours for open dialogue.
Can I make a couple of points about what Darryl has just said? He referred to the Chinese pictures. What that actually showed was NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photograph of the Chinese landers. It wasn't the Chinese photographing the Apollo landers, because they've never done that. All China have ever said was, we have seen on the moon traces of Apollo. They didn't say what they saw. They have never shown a photograph of any of the Apollo landers allegedly on the lunar surface, because they're not there. But they don't want to upset America, so they will go along with the story. China are doing some very interesting activity on the lunar surface because they've landed there. They're not being helped by America, but they have never said they have seen Apollo landers on the lunar surface, nor have India, nor have Japan, nor have Israel. All of those nations have sent unmanned craft to the lunar surface. And as for the laser reflectors, well, forget it. You don't need a laser reflector to bounce a laser off the lunar surface. It was done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1962.
Actually, before that, in Project Diana in World War II.
Yeah, they were bouncing radio signals off the moon because it was a secure means of communication. So just because there's allegedly a lunar laser reflector on the lunar surface doesn't mean that anybody put it there. The Soviets launched unmanned craft in 1970, which had laser reflectors on them as well, made by the French, as it happened. So laser reflectors are not any example of men landing on the lunar surface. I'm sorry about that, but you need to check the records to show that MIT did it 7 years before Apollo and did it successfully. You could bounce a laser off the moon. Not rocket science. Sorry.
Okay. So to quickly respond to that, the first thing you said about
actually, let me respond to that since they actually directed it at me.
Yeah.
So the
Thanks,
first
Darryl.
thing, if I was mistaken about China, then that's my mistake. As far as the reflectors, how does anything you said disprove that scientists are sending light beams to the reflectors that the astronauts left there? I don't hear where that disproves that in any way.
No, what I'm saying is that you don't need a reflector to bounce a laser off the lunar surface. That's all.
no, but you get
That wasn't my point though. My point was that the astronauts left reflectors on the moon, and people have been using those specific reflectors to reflect lasers back. Nothing you said has addressed that. So it's similar to if I was to tell you, I went to the store in my car, and you tell me, you know what, you don't have to go to the store in a car because I went in a truck. That doesn't change the fact that I went to the store in my car. So what I want you to do is actually address the fact that astronauts left solar reflectors there, and scientists are specifically using those reflectors, so we know they're there because they left at specific locations. You see, if you shine a laser at the moon, it's going to go to a certain place, and when you shine it at the reflector, it's going to reflect back differently because, as I said, it's designed in such a way that if you shoot a beam at it, it'll shoot directly back. So the strength of the beam you receive back from a reflector will be different from just off the lunar surface and things like that. So nothing you've said has addressed that. But yes, they can do it in other ways, but yes, they're also doing it with the reflectors that the Apollo astronauts left on the moon.
Okay. Now, what diameter is a laser beam when it reaches the moon?
I haven't looked at the actual diameter. It's wider though.
Yes, 2 kilometers. So if that laser reflector is about half a square meter, which it is, which I've seen the pictures of it, the percentage of light being received by that reflector is so tiny that to then be reflected back to Earth, when it would, the laser beam is a diameter of about 20 kilometers, the percentage of light being received on Earth, it takes the best part of 8 hours for a receiver on Earth to receive sufficient light, of photons of light, from the moon to record any signal at all. It's not like shining a laser at a mirror and getting an immediate reflection back. That's not the way it works. Not on the moon.
Thanks for that claim. You're saying things there, but do you have any evidence for the things that you've just said?
Oh, there's plenty of evidence.
Well,
could you present that? Because you are just kind of saying things, and
No. I can find the evidence. It would just take a little while to find it. I'm just quoting what scientists have confirmed many times, that a laser beam fired from Earth has a diameter the best part of 2 kilometers by the time it reaches the lunar surface.
Well, that's also the thing. Because they've done this since World War II, okay, that means they still get receiving back. Now, as Marcus is saying, because it's 2 kilometers wide, that reflector is you're not going to get even 1% of its reading back. So that reading you're getting back would just be lunar surface reading anyway. So you are begging the question that they did put lunar reflectors on there in the first instance. You haven't proven it to exist. You're just making a claim and telling us to debunk something that hasn't been validated yet. That's it.
Okay, so there's a lot of that is easily debunkable. When you get a signal back from the retroreflectors, it's a lot stronger than you get back just from the surface of the moon. You are correct that it's an extremely small amount that you get returned back. In fact, it's about 1 photon in every 10 to the 17 photons. So about 0.000000000000001% sent from Earth then gets returned to the telescope. That's why they designed very specific, very accurate and sensitive detectors specifically for that, to be able to detect the signal they would expect coming back from the retroreflectors compared to not hitting the retroreflectors. They've been bouncing signals off the moon for a long time, but when they put the retroreflectors there, they were able to get a stronger signal back that is, still extremely weak, but still stronger than just the moon on its own. So there's no problem with saying that it's hitting the retroreflector, because they've got the things that detect those tiny amount of photons back. That's why they designed that. And they can tell if it's hitting the retroreflector or not, even with the extreme divergence of the beam.
Well, the thing is, would you, because obviously I don't believe what the moon is, but based on your guys' belief, can there be different type of rock on the moon, which would give a different reflective capacity?
They would aim it at certain areas that they would know where the regolith is. But yes, there is different rocks that reflect different certain bits, but still not as strong as what you would have from a specially designed retroreflector. And the interesting part is that as the time's gone on, the signal that you get back from the retroreflector has actually got weaker, because it's got destroyed by solar radiation and things like that, as they were expecting over time. But they can still say, well, based on the degradation, this is the signal that we expect to get back. And it is that signal compared to anything else that is naturally occurring on the moon.
It's the rock that's giving that reflective property and not the reflector.
Well, there isn't a rock that's as reflective as the retroreflectors. They were designed to be exponentially more reflective than anything that naturally occurs on the moon. And it was in a location that was actually relatively, level and, with just kind of regolith and stuff around it on purpose, so that they were able to determine if they were hitting the retroreflectors or not.
Another question for that, because it's been 50 years or something, would it not be covered in lunar dust by now?
That's one of the things that's making it degrade. I mean, regolith is very sticky, but there isn't an atmosphere to move the regolith around. So there's not like wind that's blowing the regolith onto the retroreflector. So there's going to be very little of the moon's surface that has then gone onto the retroreflectors. The degradation would more likely be from solar radiation and things like that than actual regolith getting onto it, because there's nothing there to lift the regolith onto it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I failed to see where you've actually shown reflectors there. You're just making assumptions and then claiming validity based on that assumption. Like I said, it could be different rocks. It could be just it's the amount is so small that even that percentage based on that large target degradation will be there. And like I said, there is lunar dust that does move on the Earth, because there is a little small amount of atmosphere on the moon's surface, which would require to move around. Even when the astronauts are there and they were there, they suffer with lunar regolith, the lunar surface dust getting in between every pore of their suit. When they actually climb and take the suit off, dust everywhere inside because of the dust on the lunar surface.
Yeah, that's obviously because they were actually moving around and disturbing the dust. There is no, there's a tiny element of tiny portions of gas attached to the moon because of its gravity. But there's no atmosphere, there's no wind, there's no weather systems. There is literally nothing that moves around the regolith on the moon apart from it being disturbed by something else. The reason the astronauts got it in their suit was because they were moving around. And then when they took it off, when they got out of the suits in the airlocks, they then got touched by the regolith that was stuck in their suit. But there's no atmosphere, like there's literally no wind on the moon, like there is on Mars or on Earth.
No moving flag. Okay.
Well, that only moved because of inertia.
Well,
They-
there was one.
Wiggled it around, it moved, and there was nothing to stop that wave of energy.
Marcus actually presented an interesting thing about that flag before, about the flag being wet. Have you guys ever seen that argument before?
Yeah, but that
I haven't seen that.
how we stick to things that were discussed within the openings, if that's okay, rather than bringing in extra bits of evidence right now.
I'd like to ask a question about before we leave the reflector topic. Flatzoid, I heard you give the common flat-earth rebuttal of just saying it could be this or it could be that. So let me ask you in general, if a scientist performs an experiment and gets a result, and you say, well, it could be this, do you think that just saying it could be this trumps whatever is done in reality? Like, do you think saying it could be this just means that whatever is done in reality is non-existent anymore?
Look at it to see if it is first scientific.
Say again?
The hypothesis for the experiment, and then we'll look at it that way to see if it is anyway scientific.
I've
Because
already said it. Scientists have sent lasers to the moon and got reflections back. So
Not science. Problem, mostly thing you guys have is pseudoscience, and you're trying to claim it as science. Now, when you're claiming reflectors, that's just a claim. You haven't backed that claim up with anything other than circular reasoning. That's not scientific. Science is not based on circular reasoning. It's based on cause and effect.
let's back up. What I'm saying is, I've seen scientists demonstrate sending a laser to the moon and getting a signal back and showing the signal on their equipment that matches, because they don't just send like random signals. They send signals that have a certain cadence to it, so that when they receive it back, they know it's their signal, right? And they know what the reflector's doing. They know the strength is going to be. So what I'm asking you is, given that scientists have done this thing and shown their results, do you think just saying it could be a reflective rock, do you think that just wipes away anything?
Yes, because the thing is, first of all, it's not science. So it doesn't matter if a scientist did it, a janitor can do it and get the same results. The point is, it's more plausible that it's a type of rock that gives reflective surfaces than it is for a reflector that goes there. Remember, you guys haven't even shown it true that they have been on the moon to put those reflective down. You're just making a claim and expecting people to adapt to that claim because of it. That's not really how it works.
No, I mean, you're
I feel like I'm done with that topic.
that we went to the moon. And again, there is no moon on the moon surface that gives the reflective properties that the retroreflectors do, according to all of science. And also, it is science because they made a prediction and tested that prediction, which is literally the foundation of science. You just denying that things happen and saying it's more plausible than this does not dismiss the things that were done. It's literally just denial on your part. The claims of retroreflectors are commonly known, and there's plenty of evidence to show. There's videos and pictures of the astronauts putting them down, which I know you guys would just say was fake, but there's evidence that it happened. More evidence that it happened is the fact that we can predict what we will get back when we hit the retroreflectors, and we get that back compared to what we did before the retroreflectors were placed, which was just getting a signal back from the moon itself. And they're different. We can tell they're different. We can even follow the degradation of the equipment that was put there. Right. Now, does it absolutely 100% prove that people went there and put it on the moon? Well, apart from the videos and pictures, I guess not. It could have been robotic drones that went and put a retroreflector on the moon. But the question of whether there is a retroreflector or not on the moon is a fact, according to the testing of predictions of what would happen if you fired a laser at it and got it back. But, I'm not saying that it wasn't humans that put it there. I followed the evidence of the pictures and videos showing them putting it there. But, can I prove to you those pictures and videos were not fake beyond your standard of evidence? No, I don't think anybody can.
Just one point on faking pictures. You showed the Apollo 16 Grand Prix and presented that as conclusive evidence for man being on the lunar surface.
Well, actually, I presented the analysis of that video as the evidence.
Okay. Now, do you know for certain that that was a real life-sized lunar rover driven by a named Apollo astronaut? Do you know for certain?
According to all the evidence, it shows that it does. Was I there watching them do it myself? No. But you are now creating an impossible standard of evidence that no one should be expected to follow. The evidence presented following the analysis of the particles shows that it was done in an, even if it was smaller than we're saying, then those particles still followed a trajectory where there was no atmosphere and where gravity was of what we expect on the moon rather than Earth. You just saying, can I personally prove that astronauts actually did it and it wasn't just a miniature buggy, is just denialism that really doesn't need to be engaged with.
It does, because if you examine... No, shut up. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Tell me to shut up.
Well, okay. Please let me speak.
Okay, but
if you examine the film of that buggy, the lunar rover and the astronaut in it, you will see that he is not moving his arm. It does not move. He keeps it at one level the whole time. It's not on the controller, which is in the center. That arm, it doesn't even bounce when he goes over a big hole. So just examine that particular film closely, and you'll.
I have done. Got a 4K for that version of it here, 4K 60 frames a second upgraded, and you can literally see frame by frame. If you want, I'll take you through it, and you can see his arms moving exactly as you would expect. Also, do you know the specifics of the engineering of the buggy and what movements are required compared to what they're hitting? It's not like they're just driving a standard car on Earth. So do you have any evidence of that claim? Can you present an analysis of the video that shows the arms not moving? Because I can present a video right now and show you frame by frame with the arms are moving to show that you're wrong. But I will first give you a chance, Alan, to present your analysis of the video to back up that claim.
I prefer to be called Marcus, by the way. Because
well, I apologize. You have two first names. It's very hard.
Because so I'm not confused with the big American football player of the same name. He's big and black, and I'm big and white. You can tell the difference. Marcus is my preferred name.
I apologize.
Okay.
Marcus, it was my mistake. Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
Marcus, can I ask you a question? Because you've demonstrated to fight the flat Earth that your standard of evidence is out there. So would you describe to us what it was like when you went to space and personally verified that no equipment could last out there in the temperature of the sun? Like, what did you do? How did you personally verify? What was the process of going in space and doing that and knowing for sure personally that material can't last out there with a human in it?
So I haven't said that material can't last. I'm saying that humans have a real problem lasting in space, not equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so, exactly. So that's from I was speaking. So how did you personally? So you must have personally went out in space and in equipment and known that humans couldn't last out there. Would you describe what was the process? How did you personally verify and know yourself that humans can't do that? How did you know that for sure? Would you go? So let's hear that.
All right. You've heard of Mount Everest, obviously, the highest mountain allegedly on planet Earth.
Yes.
29,000 and a few feet. Humans cannot survive on the top of Mount Everest without protection. Above 26,000 feet, it's called the death zone for obvious reasons. People die. Then that's less than 5 miles above sea level. So if humans at that level, 5 miles above the lunar surface, need protection to survive, not from a lack of oxygen, but from the reduced pressure forcing the oxygen into the lungs, it's a reasonable...
This is what I'm noticing.
Say again?
This is what I'm noticing. You said that's reasonable. This is what I'm noticing. Flat the Flat Earth presented a video showing that given our understanding, we can calculate how fast things fall in a gravitational field we can look at the particles and see that they're falling in such a way that there's no atmosphere, that the gravity is lighter. You said that's not enough. Or can you be absolutely sure? But yet, you just gave us similar evidence. You didn't tell me you went into outer space in a capsule and you died. You said, okay, I'm going to give you something relevant that's related. You can't survive on the top of a mountain. So obviously you can't survive in space. That's reasonable. That's what you just told me. So that tells me that your reasoning is either flawed or dishonest. That you would present the flat earth with a standard of evidence that you're not holding yourself to. If he needs to know for certain that there's a named astronaut in that rover, and it's not enough for him to calculate the fall of gravity and to see that there's no air there, it's not enough for you to just talk about Mount Everest. That's not space. So what is it going to be? Are you going to hold yourself to the standard of evidence that you want to hold Fight the Flat Earth to? Or are you going to be reasonable with him as well and accept that he looked at that dust? That dust is falling at 1/6 the gravity of Earth. It's falling in a way that there's no atmosphere, and thus he knows that astronauts were there. It's the two choices you have: either be dishonest or actually engage with Fight the Flat Earth's evidence, just like you wanted me to engage with you about Mount Everest.
I mean, I can certainly respond to his one criticism, which was that you can look and see the arms weren't moving because I've got it ready and I can show frame by frame how his arms exactly moved as he went over certain bumps, which I'll do in 1 sec. But I just want to say quickly, for the sake of Flatzoid, I think he's got a problem with his audio and has had to temporarily leave. So just bear with Flatzoid, and I'm sure he will be back because engaging with him about science is endlessly entertaining. But James, would it be okay if I quickly presented a video? Oh, James isn't there, so I'm just gonna do it anyway. Wait. Hey guys, we're in charge of the channel right now. No, he's back. It's okay.
Ready.
James, 5 seconds. Fight the Flat Earth was the king of modern day debate. I witnessed it.
Thank you for your patience. I had to plug in my laptop, but we're ready for you. And Flatzoid
Okay.
is back.
I hope it's working now. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Flatzoid.
I was trying to talk this whole time and I realized, why is everybody ever talking to me? It's like, oh, I can't see, nothing's happening.
Are you able, Fight the Flat Earth, to do a screen share here in Zoom? And that way it'll give.
That's fine. That makes it easier for you, absolutely. Screen share.
But the point I wanted to bring up while he's doing that quickly, Marcus, the thing is, look how that video is showing. It doesn't rebut anything we brought up of how the cameras were able to work on the lunar surface to take that video.
We'll get to all of that, yeah. But the fact that it exists shows that the cameras could work. So there's that. Right, anyway, so I want you to pay close attention to his arm. Am I sharing the screen, James? Is that okay? Yeah, right, I just got it so everyone can see up on my side as well. Right, if you pay attention to his arm that is closer to us, and as I skip it frame by frame, which it's not doing because for some reason. All right, you can see as he goes over a bump here, his arm reacts and goes up and then down as you would expect. And I'll go back a bit because it skipped the bit I wanted. As he's going over that bump, you can see that his arm changes position relative to the one behind it. Let me get back. So at this point, it's really quite low relative to the arm, the other side of it. But as he goes over a bump here, the arm corrects the steering just there, as you expect, and it goes up and gets closer to the other one, and his whole body shifts with the steering, which he then moves to the left slightly to correct. So
I don't agree with
straight line and even hitting bumps, and you can see the arms doing the slight corrections that you would expect with the extreme suspension. But it's even better because if we get to bits where he's turning, I had another point prepared. So here we go.
Well, based on that, the FTFE, wouldn't it be possible that they just have a controller for that arm that's stuck to the steering wheel? Because it's like a remote control car with the hands just stuck to it. As it turns, the hands have to obviously go with it. Isn't that possible?
Do you have any evidence of that? Anything is possible, but do you have evidence?
Yes, because the point is you haven't shown how the cameras can work on the lunar surface to take this footage in the first place. We can show you that technology was existent in those years, and thus this could just be a miniature scale model, as Marcus said.
How much that you could see his glove, especially in this frame, I'm just trying to debunk Marcus here. Especially here as he goes over these bumps, you can see his gloves reflecting, and you can see how much he corrects the steering with his arms there, and they change position. So the claim of he doesn't move his arms is incorrect. He does. It's very little, but that's because there's suspension there designed to make the steering a lot easier.
I don't see what you're claiming there.
Yeah. Oh.
You could place it closer.
Okay.
You light movements of the arms. I showed a bit on a very, when he's not even turning around a corner, he's just going over bumps, and you can see his arms correcting like this. I showed it framed. And if
that's what I'm saying. This can be debunked by knowing it could be a remote control car with an action figure stuck to the wheel, and it gives little recruits as it's moving. That's just normal. The technology for remote control cars were existent those days.
Okay, but this is still in an atmosphere that has no environment and is low gravity. But we can get into the film evidence.
Does density, wait, does density change the behavior of that dust?
If there's no air, there's no density of the air, then yes, it would change the behavior of it, because it would cause less resistance.
So how do you know the density of the claimed dust on the moon?
Oh, but with the analysis.
Yeah, but that is making, again, an assumption what the density of the regolith would be, would it not? So it's already a biased analysis.
It's not a bias. It matches the predictions of what we say should happen on the moon. There's
Based on assuming what the density of regolith is.
Well, yeah, you have to assume that's part of science, but we've actually been there and tested the density of the regolith, but you just deny that. So it's just circular reasoning.
Wait. I'm going to say this again. Again, you haven't proven they've been there. Everything you're fighting for is already saying they've been there. So prove that before making a claim they've been there, please.
I was in the middle of saying something. No, what you're doing is saying every bit of evidence we give, you don't believe because reasons. But every bit of evidence we give is evidence we've been there. And all you're doing is going, well, I don't think the cameras could work because you don't understand how the cameras worked. The analysis of this footage shows that it was in a position that was no atmosphere and in low gravity, right? That is fact, right? But we can get cameras worked. That's absolutely fine.
I want to get it back to Marcus, but before we do that, I just want to make a logical statement here. What's more logical? You're claiming things that violate how the camera would work in a vacuum with the film and everything. Is just magically working against logical deduction that they could have done this miniature in a studio with the correct density dirt and fooled you all.
No, because it still shows gravity that happens on Earth and with no resistance at any of the dirt. But you not understanding how cameras work on the moon is something we can get into. That's absolutely fine. Now I've got all my research in front of me here. The basic answer is that they were shielded. It's simple. How did they get through the Van Allen belts? Well, number one, they took very little time going through the Van Allen belts. They, on purpose, chose the path that took the least time through the Van Allen belts and went through the weakest part. And they were inside a spaceship that was lined against the protection with the film inside something which was also with protection. So very limited exposure, no problem. They were designed and made sure, thanks to that protection, that they could get through. They didn't spend hours and hours and days in the Van Allen belts in the extremely strong parts. They spent a little time in it in the weak parts. And then on the moon, simple. They were shielded. They were in contained things that kept they'd never exposed the film to the vacuum of space or to the radiation.
It was on his chest. It was on his chest, not in a contained thing. It was on his chest, dude.
Yeah, but the actual camera was designed for it to be contained. The whole camera system was contained.
Do you know how to change film on a film camera?
It wasn't a normal, it was box standard.
Wait. Do you know how to change film on a film camera, FTFE?
Can I finish speaking before you interrupt? That's my one. It wasn't just a standard, normal, bog standard Hasselblad camera strapped to them. It was one designed to be used in that environment. To change the film, they had a system specifically, it was just cartridge insert. That was it. It wasn't just a normal film that you had to expose and then put in. You are just making a straw man of the equipment that was used on the moon. If you can't understand the equipment was actually used on the moon, then that's not our fault. But it was designed specifically for ease of use and to be protected against the environment that they went to. They didn't just give them a standard Hasselblad camera. Off you go, boys, do your best.
Actually, they did give a
No.
standard Hasselblad. I've handled a replica of the lunar camera. I've appeared on television demonstrating it. I've used professionally a genuine Hasselblad camera. Film is changed on film magazines. You can take a film magazine off the back of the Hasselblad anytime you like, as long as you put the dark slide in to protect the film. The cameras allegedly used on the moon had no more protection than they were painted aluminium instead of silver, and they had the black leatherette covering removed. Otherwise, it would outgas. That's what Hasselblad said. We took it off because it was outgassing space. So they knew about outgassing. There was no vacuum protection. There was no vacuum protection on the Hasselblad camera used on the lunar surface. If there was, you would see it. There was neither any protection on the Mara 16mm film cameras used on the lunar surface.
You're just saying evidence. I can prove you wrong with actual evidence if you like.
That would be great, because he actually held a replica, and Gary Fong as well, who is a professional Hasselblad photographer, says exactly the same as what Marcus just said, which can affirm what he said.
So if you're, thank you. If you're saying there was protection, please show how that protection was attached to the camera and what effect it had.
Okay, so modifications made to the Hasselblad camera: removal of the viewfinder and reflex mirror, simplified controls, larger buttons, specialized lenses, magnesium alloy body and thermal insulation, special films, changing a film on the moon. Film magazine: instead of changing rolls of film, the cameras used preloaded magazines. These magazines were designed for quick attachment and detachment. They snapped onto the camera body securely, ensuring no light exposure or damage. The film magazines held up to 200 frames per roll, allowing astronauts to take many shots before needing to swap magazines. The high capacity minimized the number of times they needed to change film on the lunar surface. The film magazines were designed to be light, tight, and resistant to vacuum exposure when astronauts needed to change film. They detached the used magazine and put it in a specialized container to protect it from radiation, dust, and temperature fluctuations. The new magazine was then attached to quickly to the camera. The mechanism was simple enough that astronauts could change the film with their bulky gloves on, and involved a straightforward clip-in system where the magazine would click into place, ensuring it was securely and properly aligned. So you're wrong.
I want to ask you, so when they clip that off, is it exposed?
No.
Yeah, of course it is. This is how full cameras work. It's exposed. That plate is exposed.
So
Even here on Earth, do you know how
this is what we need to
sensitive
do,
that
guys.
plate is?
This is what we need to do, guys, to finish this topic real fast. Because, okay, Flight to Flight Earth is reading what the manufacturers, science, and so forth are saying happened. You're saying that's not enough to work. So please give us your calculations, specifications, the amount of radiation, and let us know what the actual effect will be.
I'm telling you, if you've ever worked with a film camera, you would understand.
No. I want you to don't tell us something hypothetical. Give us the actual data.
This isn't hypothetical. This is how film cameras work. They have
No. I'm talking about that specific camera.
Gentlemen, just so there's not too much over talking. Let's Flatzoid, if you want to finish, we'll give you 30 seconds and then we'll kick it right back to you, to Darryl.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yes, how a film camera works, it's got a back plate. You have to remove it, just like he said with a cartridge, you have to remove. It will be exposed. Okay, even here on Earth, that it's very sensitive to dust and anything. So as soon as it's removed, it's exposed. And then they'd have to clip in that cartridge again. That cartridge also has to be open and exposed to fit against the other open exposed film for it to work. This is impossible if it's in a vacuum with a lot of fine dust particles. That's all I'm saying.
Let's go back to Darryl for 30 seconds. 60 seconds.
So please let us know the amount of radiation that was coming from the sun, the type of radiation, how it would have penetrated that material and so forth. Please give us those details for that specific camera that Flight the Fighter mentioned with those specifications.
But just before that, I can quickly respond to the claim that Flatzoid said about it changed.
I want to let him finish. Please let him give us that evidence. Go ahead and give us the specific evidence for the for that camera.
Let's go ahead, Flatzoid. We'll give you a chance to respond.
So okay, yeah. So just quickly before we get.
Hold on, wait. I think Darryl, do I understand right? You were asking, you wanted to answer a
Flatzoid is supposed to be
before.
giving us the specific evidence for the radiation, the impact that it would have had on that specific camera in that specific time frame. How long was it not connected, and so forth. So let's see that, Flatzoid.
You're in the hot seat, Flatzoid. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't say anything about radiation. I was talking about dust particles and the vacuum. But based on radiation, we have actual demonstrations where Marcus has done taking that film that NASA used and stuck it in a vacuum, and they put radiation onto it, which gave the effects which we claim. So you're not understanding that the film would have outgassing because of the vacuum, and the plate would be contaminated by the fine dust, and the radiation based just from the sun alone and its temperatures would actually cook it that you wouldn't be able to see what you're seeing. It's not my problem. It's just your incredulity to understand how film works. Sorry.
Let's try this again. Flight the Fighter read the specific specifications. He read the specific changes that were made to the cameras and what they were made to do. You're saying that's not enough. So give us the amount of dust that would have went in that amount of time. How much time it was disconnected? You even made the little separation disconnected. So if it's separated for a second and put in for a second, how many granules of dust? How much dust can the material withstand, since it was obviously made to withstand that? Give us those details and show us that what it would have impacted is over its tolerance level. Let's see that.
Okay, moving the goalpost is going to work, but even 1 grain of dust would impact the film. 1 second, second of exposure to a vacuum would affect the film. 1 split second of the radiation would affect the film. And they take.
Okay,
and
so let's see those calculations. Let's see that.
Have you ever seen an astronaut? Have you ever seen an astronaut try and hold a hammer before? It falls out their hand. Now you're telling me they take a cartridge like this on his chest with ease and just quickly putting it back. I can tell you it's probably taking longer than 10 seconds to try and get that cartridge on with those gloves that they can't even bend their fingers. There's a reason why they had to do adjustments and modifications on the lens, because they couldn't press buttons.
Yeah, that's your Flatzoid. The answer is you don't know. That's what the answer is. All this dancing around is avoiding the fact you don't know. You don't have the answers. So what's going on is Flight the Fighter gave details, and you're just giving these generalities about general cameras and how it must be. You don't know. You don't have it. So I think we should move on to another topic.
But just quickly, if I can just respond with actual specifics from Hasselblad, they designed something specific called the light-tight film magazine system. The film magazine system used on the cameras were completely light, tight, and vacuum sealed. This meant the film was always enclosed in a protective environment, even when detached from the camera body. When the astronauts removed or attached the film magazine, it remained sealed, preventing any exposure to light, vacuum, or temperature extremes. It had a quick release mechanism, which they say allowed for astronauts to swiftly remove and attach magazines without any risk of exposure. The magazines were designed to clip on securely, ensuring they remain sealed throughout the process. So again, a normal camera, you're going to be right, but they did not take a normal camera. They took a camera designed for the environment and for the bulky equipment that the astronauts were using. All you're doing is saying, well, we don't believe it happened because of how cameras work, ignoring the camera they designed to work in that condition.
Okay, they did design the camera to work in those conditions.
Thank you.
Hang on. Your description of what Hasselblad did is basically pretty accurate. They took away the viewfinder, note that, so they couldn't use a viewfinder. They took away the mirror, so they didn't use that.
Yep, they just
They did replace the shutter button, the aperture ring, and the focus ring with little levers, so that somebody in a spacesuit with big gloves, very inflexible gloves, could just push them. Yeah, they did all that. But the point that was being made, I think, was to do with how do you change a film on the moon? And it was explained. I know you did, and I explained it as well. I've used a Hasselblad camera. I know what they can and cannot do. You put a little dark slide in, which prevents the film inside the magazine from being exposed. You then push a little lever. The magazine is taken off, and you can put it away, and you put another one on. Same process in reverse. The point, I think, has been overlooked, and I know that Darryl has mentioned it, to do with a vacuum on the moon. Now, what is the vacuum on the moon? Is it a hard vacuum? Can we recreate it here on Earth? Is it similar to the International Space Station? Is the vacuum on the moon many thousands of times greater or harder, I think is the correct expression, than at the International Space Station, and certainly harder than at the Kármán line, which is named after Theodore von Kármán, who worked at NASA and wanted to identify where space began. The Kármán line is only 60 miles above the Earth's surface, not very far away. The International Space Station, the vacuum level is harder. There's less pressure. On the moon, there's even less pressure because there's nothing to press with. There's no atmosphere, as we discussed. You get into deep space and you've got nothing there at all. So you've got a very, very hard vacuum. Us delicate little creatures, we're not designed for those conditions.
Correct. That's why they use spacesuit.
We have to, okay, a spacesuit. Yes, obviously. Now, many years ago, I've been doing this, you can tell, for quite a long time.
Not very well, apparently.
Well, okay. This was fairly soon after Chernobyl, 1986, I think, 86. Hang on. Just don't interrupt me, please. I don't interrupt you. Don't interrupt me. It's bad manners. You mustn't show bad manners. You must be polite. You're doing it again. Stop it.
Let's hear from Marcus Allen.
Thank you. Chernobyl.
When you're ready.
Major nuclear power station meltdown. So I thought, whoa, hey guys, we got an answer here. These spacesuits used on the Apollo moon landings could obviously protect astronauts from the radiation and all the stuff in space. So I contacted the manufacturers of those spacesuits, a company called Hamilton Standard, and I said, could these spacesuits be used by technicians to go into Chernobyl, and now 3 Mile Island, and now Fukushima? Could they protect from the radiation conditions in those power stations? And they said, we built them according to the specification provided by NASA. You better address your question to them. So I did. And I'm still waiting for the answer. So I don't know if they can or not. NASA are not about to say so.
Oh, you're still going on. It's okay.
So could the spacesuits be used here on Earth in those conditions? No, I hear you say it's different sort of radiation. Is it? So you've got this idea that radiation is all these sort of different frequencies, which it is.
I do want to switch it over. I think you asked him a question.
Primarily.
Oh, he asked the question a while ago, James. I've got the answer for the first question he asked, but then he's just rambled for about 10 minutes.
I think, what was the most recent question you just asked? It was only about 5 seconds ago, Marcus.
After the first question, I've ignored everything else because I deal with a question at a time. So I'll just respond to the...
Okay, Craig, can you use the suits in Chernobyl?
That wasn't the first question. I've ignored everything he said after the first question.
The point was about the radiation. Can you use the suits in Chernobyl?
It was several questions, and I will answer the first question, and then he can ask other questions. So the first question was, what's the difference in the pressure of the vacuum on the moon and next to the ISS? Number one, hard isn't a science term. I don't know why you would say that. Number two, yes, there is a difference. On the moon, it's about 10 to the negative 12 torr. But the ISS is about 10 to the negative 7 to 10 to the negative 9 torr. So yes, there is less pressure on the moon than Earth. So what was the next question?
So what's the answer to that?
First question, I ignored everything else you said because I was just focusing on the first question. So what was the next question? And then I'll answer that.
But there's something that follows that, so you have to give an answer to it.
No, I do one question at a time. So that's the first question. What was the next question?
You didn't answer it. You haven't answered his. You're just giving numbers. Saying, yes, it is. Wait, you're saying it is less pressure on the moon, but he had a specific question
given
to
that answer.
why. What
Hold
happens?
on.
He's
Just to
asking.
be sure, we got one person at a time.
Yeah, just to be clear, his question was, is there less vacuum on the moon than by the ISS? That was a question. So I have now answered that question. I will now ask for the following question. Mr. Allen, what was your next question?
How do you protect astronauts in that level of vacuum?
With a spacesuit.
Okay, I've answered that because
No.
nobody will provide the answer. Don't forget,
When-
one of the things that was prominent on the Apollo 11 original landing, there were 6 following that, was that they had to keep the weight down. Guess what they did? They counted every stitch on those spacesuits, so they knew how much they weighed. Hang on, stitch on a spacesuit. How do you ensure that pressure is maintained through a stitch, let alone a zipper?
Layers.
The zip is the killer.
Are you aware that the scuba suits exist that stop pressure in and out and stuff as well? It's
Scuba suits
not
work
very
on
hard.
incoming pressure. That's
Yeah,
different.
they
This pressure
stop
going
pressure
outwards. Do you know what pressure would be on the surface area inside of that suit, of that spacesuit?
The
One at a
suits were
time.
designed.
I think there's maybe a little bit of feedback. Maybe that's what I'm hearing, but I can't tell if it's feedback or if it's someone else trying to speak. I'll give you a chance to, Craig.
There was multiple layers of insulation with multiple types of stitching that were designed specifically to keep pressure in. Just saying I don't believe stitching could do that without looking or presenting the specifications is irrelevant. Mr. Allen, you seem to have jumped questions again because you said about the pressure and then you asked something else about the suits. Just saying you don't think they would work with no evidence isn't really something that can be engaged in with discussion. If you would like to talk about the technical specifications of the suit, then that's absolutely fine. But you obviously don't know them because you wouldn't have said that. They were designed to keep that little pressure difference.
Is a zipper airtight?
They can be, yes.
In a vacuum, a zipper.
Yeah, there's zippers that can be airtight. Yes, absolutely.
Can you show us these zippers?
Would you like me to show you the manufacturer of an airtight zipper? I can do that if you like.
Yeah, show us testing an airtight zipper, please.
Oh, no, so now you've changed it from showing me an airtight zipper to testing an airtight. I love how you just moved the goalpost there, Fat.
The reason I'm asking, can you show them? Because a lot of products make, wait, I'm talking. A lot of products make claims. A lot of products make claims that's not actually true. That's why when you ask for manufacturing demonstrations, it's to show their product holds true. I can easily say I make shirts that are unterrible, but if they're not tested, you can't prove it's unterrible.
I can show you videos of spacesuits being tested. James May wore one in a vacuum chamber and it worked. He didn't die.
With the
videos of it.
Sorry, with the military guy standing in the same chamber as him, just with a face mask
There's no
on.
guy in the same chamber as him.
He was.
They were outside the chamber where he was in the chamber. You can see the water boiling in front of him, even though there's no temperature change. You can see the things around him reacting to the pressure change. He was in a vacuum chamber and there was nobody else in it. What you just said isn't a lie.
That glove was attached to an air hose on the wall. The water, you can easily have bubbles pushing from underneath. And yes, they literally had a military man standing in the chamber with him with the mask on.
Show me the video of him in the chamber. Where is it? That video doesn't exist because that didn't happen.
I actually like that. Are y'all still? He's about to pull up a video right now.
Yeah. Darryl, please.
Video, Flatzoid. Okay. No. Let's let him finish.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see a military man in the same vacuum chamber as James May when the chamber's on and active. I guess he's just searching for a non-existent video.
No, I've got it. just want to share my screen.
Yeah, okay, please go ahead. It's going to be funny, guys.
Ready for the share.
It's going to show a
Yeah.
military man in a vacuum chamber.
Wait, I got it first.
Or is it someone outside of the chamber? Who knows?
No, it's really, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, let's quickly go. Yeah, I don't want to really, because I'm scared of copyright, because BBC, but I'm going to do it like this. So you can actually see. Yeah, it's muted and stuff. But do you see he's like this? Because I've actually got copyright strike for this video before when we went through it. So you see he's standing there. He's going inside. There, she's going to close the door now. With him inside, you can see there's the glove behind him. There we go, with James May and the other guy. Closing it. Oh no. Now they're doing the valve release. Oh no. Oh, what's going on? There's the guy standing with him and the glove. Oh no. What do you have to say? What do you have to say?
Well, the guy wasn't just not wearing anything. He was wearing protection.
He only had a gas mask. He only had an air breathing mask. That was it.
That
So
he had
what was the use? What is the use of his spacesuit?
to show that it works in a vacuum chamber. But you said there was
gas mask.
in
Why
there with no.
why don't the people just have normal military grade gas masks then? They don't need spacesuits.
They had stuff that because they don't need a spacesuit for that. They're just showing that
Do you
the
know what
spacesuit.
happens in a true vacuum? Wait, do you know what happens in a true vacuum?
Others are still talking there. They were using equipment that was also suitable to be in a vacuum chamber.
Bare skin, suitable for a vacuum chamber. Are you smoking pot?
Yeah, actually, I am. But they had equipment on them that was suitable to be in the vacuum chamber. Can you show it when it was on and show them in the vacuum chamber and what they're wearing when it's on?
Yeah, you saw the glove was expanded. I think I showed enough. Just concede you were wrong, man. It's as simple as that.
No, I'm not wrong because they had protection on. You said there was just a military guy in there with nothing on, but he had protection on.
He only had a mask on. Okay, but this is like irrelevant. It's really you showing you don't want, you just hand wave missing what's shown.
What they're wearing in a Agosti. So the two military men are actually wearing an Agosti. It's the pressurized suit.
They got military attire on with their flight helmet.
Yeah, they're wearing a pressurized suit called an Agosti. You can look it up.
Pressurized? That wasn't a pressurized suit. That was normal military attire.
A pressurized suit.
Their face was open. Their face was open. Must I bring it up again?
You can see when they are active in the chamber, they are wearing a pressurized suit called an Agosti.
I don't know why we have to keep going through this because you were just shown wrong because you said I can't present what I claimed.
Well, you claimed protection.
There we go. There's the guy standing with normal military attire.
Which guy? That's
can't you see that? Where's the guy's name on his tag?
Yeah, that's a pressurized suit called an Agosti that he's wearing.
This. Where? Show me. That doesn't look like a pressurized suit to me.
Is this the bit where it's on?
This is them standing with him just before they closed the doors.
All right, let me just get the specifications of the suit up.
They're not a suit. It's military attire.
Isn't okay. So when it's on, he's wearing the Agosti pressurized suit, which I can find. Yeah.
Hey, there is inside there. Still just military attire. His face is open.
Yeah, but is it on at this point or is this before it's on?
James May is wearing a Agosti pressurized suit, man. Not the guys that we're talking about.
The space suit.
You see what James May is wearing? You see that yellow suit? That's the Agosti suit. That is what people use. Wait. You know, they use the suit. They use the suit for high altitude. For high altitude flights, usually on the Blackbirds.
Go back 3 frames.
You really don't know what's going on, do you?
Go back 3 frames.
Yeah, the Blackbird flew at 80,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's 16 miles up. They had to have pressure suits because there's no atmosphere.
When they turn it on, he's in a suit.
No, he's turned it on. You saw his hand, unprotected, by the way. his hand as he turned the knob.
That was outside they were doing that. That wasn't inside the knob being turned.
Why are they wearing these gas masks if there's air inside there? That's really odd.
Look,
His
you can
hands
see,
are unprotected. His hands are unprotected. It's open. His
Gloves.
face is unprotected. It's open. That's not gloves.
oh, it's not actually even on there because the
This is
water's not
desperation. Yeah, not on yet.
boiling there.
Now they're going to close them in there. What suits are they wearing? Oh, no. There we go. Unprotected hands. Remember, they already closed it now. Unprotected
they-
face. There we go. They're closing. Look. There we go. Unprotected faces, unprotected hands. So what you going to say now? There's his hand. I just saw his hand. Wait. Going to see his hand again. There we go. There's a guy's hand.
Yeah, it's
So-
not on there. Got it. So
There, his hand. The guy's face. The guy's face.
Yeah,
are we
but
going to
they
moan
did
about
just-
something that's showing on screen and you're denying it, or are we going to get to the actual topic at hand?
they haven't actually done.
I'm sorry. I'm done with this. I've shown you
Bring it
wrong. Can we move on to the topic, please?
It would be wrong though.
I like to ask Flatzoid something in the hopes to be an example for others to stop this from even being presented anymore. But you had mentioned that the second law of thermodynamics means that they couldn't have gone to space because the air would escape into space. I would like to see your calculations that demonstrate the differences in entropy or heat transfer or what have you that would show that to be the case.
Okay, I would leave that for the flat to globe debate rather, because this isn't flat with globe, because that debunks
In this
globe.
debate, mentioned it here.
Well,
So let's see the calculations
again,
that shows
obfuscating from
that
the
the
point.
second law.
Whoa. Keep to what we just shown on screen. We're trying to figure out, can the zippers hold air in? That was the whole
You
point of
just
what
said
is
you
going
were
on
ready to
now.
move from
You are
that
moving.
topic.
No,
You said that.
you're moving to a different topic. You don't want to move to entropy, mate. It's going to be even worse. So, can we move on? Can you please keep on? Why Craig is claiming a zipper can hold air in?
When they're designed to, yeah, a zipper can be absolutely airtight. I don't know why you would claim they can't be.
So, can you show this to us? That's what we're asking.
Yeah, you just showed a video of it actually. That was good.
No, that was showing against what you're claiming.
So the military personnel accompanying James May in the vacuum chamber were wearing US Air Force A/P-22S-6 S1034 full pressure suits, commonly known as David Clark suits. They have a lid that can be pulled up over the gas mask, which they did when it became pressurized. These suits are designed for high-altitude pilots and astronauts to provide protection in low-pressure or vacuum environments. The A/P-22S-6 suits, developed by the David Clark Company, have been used for various testing scenarios, including vacuum chamber tests like with James May.
James May was wearing it. Exactly. Not the two officers.
James May was wearing
next
the
to him.
suit from Apollo, not these full suits that are actually designed by the Air Force to be worn at the Earth. They actually had something that pulls up to cover their full face when the pressure was removed, which you, for some reason, didn't show that part of the video. It was interesting.
They closed them in
Y'all
there.
tell me what's the point of this interaction about the suit right now, by the way? What is the overall point? What's the
The spacesuits can't work in the claimed
Meaning that- yeah,
atmospheric pressure that they're claiming to be on the moon.
Yeah, so right, so one question for you about that specific. Do you know what pressure differential is, according to the globe and NASA and everything, what is the pressure differential of inside and outside of the suit when they're on the moon?
Well,
know?
make it 0.3% or something, so it blows up like the Michelin Man. So they have one
No.
atmospheric inside. Isn't that what they say?
The internal
No.
pressure of the suit, the alleged Apollo spacesuits, was about 4.8 pounds per square inch, which is
Yeah,
about
3.6. Yeah, which is way less than 1 atmosphere. So there's not even that much pressure being held in by multiple layers of specifically designed airtight suits.
4.8 pounds per square inch may not sound very much, but it is,
But you have to base on surface area, remember.
yeah, 69 pounds per square foot.
Yeah, Yeah, and the specifically designed suits to specifically be in that environment did that specific job. I mean, you're not presenting any specifics about the suit. You're not going over the what they actually had in them. You're not giving me any diagrams, you're just saying, I don't think zippers can work. They're not just normal zippers like you have on a hoodie that you put on. They are zippers designed to be airtight as part of a multi-layered system to keep the pressure in.
Okay, can you prove with evidence that the zippers were airtight?
Can you prove they weren't?
No, answer my first question.
Yes, they went to the moon with them.
Allegedly.
No, they did.
So allegedly they worked.
I showed proof that.
It's very easy to say, you're doing what you're accusing both of us of doing.
No, I'm not. I showed proof. I've shown my proof that they went to the moon, and you went, nah, it could have been a remote control. That is just circular reasoning and constant denialism. You didn't engage with the evidence of the fact that it reacts to an environment with no atmosphere and an environment with lower gravity. You ignored that completely and just started conspiracy nonsense about, did you see a person get into it? Was it a government controlled car? Did their arms move as you would expect? Well, yes, they moved exactly as you would expect on the moon with that buggy. And it was an environment with low gravity and literally no resistance to the particles coming out the back. Those rooster tails cannot happen on Earth. Simple as that. No, they don't. There's no evidence.
Rooster tails happen all the time on Earth.
Rooster tails do not happen. Anything on Earth will follow the green trajectory that I showed. It will not follow the trajectory of no resistance and lower gravity. And you certainly don't get the perfect rooster tails because there's air resistance on Earth. It doesn't do that.
Remember I asked you earlier, if you change the density, would it change the rooster tail's trajectory?
Yeah, and
yes.
Yeah.
So if you have the right density, are you able to get that effect? The answer is yes.
No, not if there's an atmosphere, no.
Who said that in an atmosphere? Like Marcus said, it could be a miniature done in a vacuum chamber in a studio.
Well, it could be anything, but if you give evidence for that, I'll engage with it.
Yeah, plenty of evidence. It's just...
No, you just saying things.
I've written a book here with 246 references to all this information. It's all there. If you choose to order it from Amazon, you can do it yourself online. You can send all the references that we put into this book, which demonstrate that no human has landed on the lunar surface. Couldn't, whether it's vacuum, temperature, pressure, the ability of the rocket to actually land on the lunar surface. That's a completely different story. Now,
okay, so there was one thing about heat, which I haven't really had a chance to engage with. And you're like, well, you put something in there, there's a temperature. I mean, your misunderstanding of heat transfer is quite funny. And I'll debunk it with a simple explanation of what I do Monday to Friday. I go to the gym first thing, I do a nice workout, and then I go and have a swim, and then I get in the steam room. All right. Question for you, Mr. Allen. How hot is steam?
100 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, so how is it I can sit in a room for 20 minutes with stuff that's 100 degrees centigrade?
Because you're...
Convection.
Thank you.
Convection.
Because the total temperature you're sitting in is not 100 degrees centigrade. It's the steam is 100 degrees centigrade.
Ah, right. So how come I can sit with that steam touching my body all over me, breathing in that steam, and living in an environment of steam without boiling at 100 degrees?
Wait. It's not steam by the time it gets to you. If you had to go to that pot of
steam,
I guarantee you'll burn your skin. Where you're sitting, it's the humidity that you're breathing in. It's not the steam itself.
The steam is steam is in the entire room. It is a steam room. It is full of steam.
But it's humidity that you are breathing in. The steam is literally what's being put up from the bath. I guarantee you, go to the sauna next time and stick your hand over that hot bath and see what's going to happen to your skin. That is steam.
steam room.
Not what you're breathing in. That's
That room-
humidity.
Full of steam, that steam is touching my body. It's not just steam there, the whole room is full of steam, and the steam is 100 degrees centigrade. Yet I can stay in that room for 20 minutes, go and have a cold shower, come back and be in there for another 10 minutes without boiling. The same applies in space. The reason I don't boil is because there is not a lot of steam compared to the total volume of that room. There is gaps between the steam. Now in space, there is so little to transfer any heat energy that you don't gain much. And there's protection against the radiation that is causing heat and things to heat up because of radiation. But the actual heat transfer, there's not enough particles to transfer that heat. The same as in a steam room. There is not enough of the steam particles to transfer all that heat to me. It's as simple as that.
Wait, so the heat, let's say if I take a blowtorch and I hold it far from you and you just feel a bit of heat. That's with atmosphere. If I have no atmosphere, you're not going to feel any heat. But what happens if I hold that blowtorch towards your skin, even without an atmosphere? Will it burn you?
Yeah, because you're directing the particles, a lot of them, in a very...
So you wouldn't be able to disperse that heat around because there's nothing to disperse that heat away.
The particles are actually hitting me. You are firing particles out of that blowtorch that are physically being forced into me, a lot of them, in a very short amount of time. The same, if I hold my hand over a kettle when it boils, because there's so much steam in short amount of time, my hand will burn. That steam is the same temperature as the steam in the steam room. There's just less of it in the volume to transfer that heat energy to me. In space, there's even less stuff to transfer heat energy. And things rotate in space as well. Like, for instance, the ISS, it gets heat energy from the sun because of radiation, but then the other times when it's facing away, it radiates that heat back out. It's, you know, in space,
radiates that heat back out into what? You said there's no atmosphere.
Yeah, but radiation, infrared and things like that.
Yeah, it does. But, I mean, that's why we have a
talking about
here on Earth.
Away.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead and
Darryl has not...
As if he's the most important person on the room. Okay, carry on.
All right.
No, I was just saying...
Ask Flatzoid for those equations now. Like,
okay, there's two people speaking still. Go ahead, Darryl.
Yeah, sorry, Darryl should talk.
Go ahead and show us the actual understanding of how the second law of thermodynamics would do that in the language of second law of thermodynamics. Let's see those equations and values and so forth.
Sorry, we were talking about pressures now and heat transfer. Okay, entropy. Do you believe that according to entropy, an open system will hold gas into that system?
Gravity.
My understanding is you don't actually have that, and you're trying to change.
I don't need to bring up equations. I'm
that.
asking you a simple, basic, logical thing based on second law of thermodynamics. If you have a separate open system, which is low pressure, if you open a system which is higher pressure inside and open that, will the air evacuate into the available system? Will entropy increase?
What I'm understanding is when you said that the second law of thermodynamics dictates this, you do not have the equations, you do not have the math, you do not have the backing in that language.
Well, you haven't given me a scenario to give an equation.
Yes, you that's okay. He just said I didn't present a scenario, and he's trying to ask me for a different scenario. You presented the scenario. You said that the atmosphere would escape into space, so we can't have gone to the moon because if the Earth was a globe and so forth, the atmosphere would escape. So I'm asking you, according to the second law of thermodynamics, to present that in the language of second law of thermodynamics. Show us the equation, show us the math behind it, and let's see that. Or will you just admit that you don't have that and you're just claiming stuff or just repeating what you heard on a meme or something? Do you actually have it to back up what you said? Or
well, you don't have to be condescending, man. What the hell is wrong with you? And say what I mean. It's literally the law of entropy, and this is why I built a scenario for you. If I have a closed system, let's make this box. This is a closed system, okay? This will be a vacuum chamber, okay? Now, inside this vacuum chamber, I have another box, and it's got air inside that box. What happens when I open that box inside this vacuum chamber?
But before we move on to something else, what we're
I'm asking you
hearing
a
is
simple
when it
question.
comes
I'm
to
asking
when
you a
it
simple
comes to
question.
the
I'm building a scenario for you. What happens when I open that box that has air inside this vacuum chamber?
so what we're understanding is when it comes to the atmosphere, when you say the atmosphere would escape into space, you do not have the equations, you do not have the math, you do not have the second
Are you going
thermodynamics
to answer
backing to
me?
back that up in the language of you're not answering is what's going on. You said the second law
I
of
didn't
thermodynamics.
prepare
I'm
math
asking you
for
to
this.
present that.
I didn't prepare math for this debate because it wasn't part of the presentation I was going to present. Okay.
So you
So
don't
I'm
have
giving
it, so
you
we can move
logical.
on. That's fine.
I'm asking you what would happen if I had to open the box inside this vacuum system.
It's very simple, man. If you're going to talk about the second law of thermodynamics, then I'm going to accept it in the language of the second law of thermodynamics. You're not
So you-
presenting any equations, no math, no actual backing. You're just talking.
Flatzoid will give you a
So that's
chance.
nothing. That means that your
His
your
hand wave
basis
is
is
missing it, guys.
nonsense.
Wait,
You know
what?
what
That's
would
what that
happen?
means.
Well,
The
all right,
air
let's
would
see. What I want to do is Flatzoid will give you a chance to respond. Then we're going to jump into the Q&A, unless anybody has anything they're burning, but it'll probably come up during the Q&A anyway. So I do think we'll jump into the Q&A right after Flatzoid gets a chance to answer Darryl's
Sounds
question.
good.
Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Okay, what he should have answered was, yeah, as soon as I open the high pressure, because entropy is always high to low, hot to cold kind of thing. So what happens if you have to open that high pressure system inside a vacuum, the gas inside that high pressure system will seek equilibrium and try to fill the available volume. This is exactly why we were talking about the spacesuits. If the spacesuit had a zipper with, it's got material, there is no actual footage of them actually testing it in the claimed environment that is claimed on the moon, because you can't even get to those pressures, not even in the Sandusky, Ohio vacuum chamber. So our claim is, show us a demonstration on there actually being able to do this, because that would be violating the law of entropy.
This is a great opportunity. We'll jump into the Q&A. I want to say, folks, do appreciate all of your questions. We're going to try to move fast. So if you guys have rebuttals, namely if you speakers have rebuttals, you can do that. Although if you can keep them pithy and also rare, then we'll get through as many questions as we possibly can. Folks, thanks so much. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we have many more debates coming up. LJ says, how can Earth be a ball when it is measured flat? So this may have come in before we switched the topic. Today's topic, we did a quick audible at the very start. Anybody want to, I suppose, flats or anybody except Flatzoid?
I mean,
if you want to respond.
present the evidence that it's measured flat and we can go from there.
Wesley Grand Leonard says, Flatzoid, as a professional painter, what experience or education do you have to be considered an expert on topics such as science, space, and or physics?
I was not always a spray painter, by the way. I was a graphic designer before that. I did imports and exports before that. People study various subjects and people choose to go in a certain topic. I enjoy working with my hands, and that's why I do spray painting. I do not claim to know everything about physics or anything, but I do know enough to be able to talk about the subjects I talk about. Yeah, if you don't believe me, you can go look up the law of entropy yourself and you'll see you can never demonstrate gas pressure without containment.
Stuart James says, Marcus reminds me of a dear family member. That's sweet. Charming Marcus. And LJ says, who recorded the lunar, quote, taking off of the moon?
Right, he's talking about the Apollo 17 liftoff, which was controlled manually from from headquarters. They robotically controlled the camera to tilt up and follow it. It wasn't the first time they tried. They tried it on the previous two missions as well and didn't quite get it right. They practiced, and then on the third time they did. There wasn't someone there physically controlling it. It was controlled via the radio communications that they had available from the buggy.
His name was Ed Fendel, and he worked at Houston. He was the guy who was operating the remote camera, we're told.
You got it.
So it was filmed remotely, allegedly, from the lunar rover parked several hundred feet away from the Apollo 17 craft. As you say, They tried it on 15, they tried it on 16, they didn't quite get it right. By 17, they'd got it right, and that's what we saw. But
This
we
one
didn't
from
see any rocket, didn't see any, never mind, that's another story.
this
I
one
think it would
from
be more believable if they just said we left remote on the Earth on the moon surface, you know.
Rockstyle. Thanks for becoming a member. And their question from earlier was, why do the majority of qualified scientists on Earth from different corporations, countries, and allegiances agree that the moon landings were real? Why would everyone conspire and disagree with Flatzoid and Marcus? They say, what is there to gain for non-affiliated groups?
Good point. Very good question. A lot of people believe it was for real. I was one of those people because you can tell I'm old enough to have been around when it actually happened. Back in July 1969, July the 20th. I stayed up till 3:30 in the morning in London watching it on my little black and white television. I was transfixed by it. It was wonderful. They'd finally got there. They'd done it. I had no reason to believe that it wasn't for real. We'd seen a lot of publicity from all the major publications in America, Life magazine, National Geographic. They were featuring the astronauts. They were world famous people. How many of the modern day astronauts can you actually name? You know, if you're interested, you probably can. But these people were on the cover of Life magazine, Look magazine, National Geographic magazine. Their family life was being dissected because people were interested in what these heroes were going to be doing. Where did they come from? Who were they? So we believed it. I believed it. I have no reservation in saying so. It was only about 20 years later when things started to become a little bit more unemotional, because it was a very emotional time. Don't forget the context of it all, the Vietnam War and all that. It was very emotional.
Yeah, it was all political.
It was very political. You're quite right. So by the time things had calmed down, and one could say, okay, well, let's have a look at some of these photographs. They weren't easily available. I first started looking at the Apollo photographs in the early 1990s. I had to go and buy a set of postcards to find out what they looked like, because only a few had ever been published. Maybe 30 or 40 had been published. When I discovered there were 5,771 taken on the lunar surface, I thought, let's have a look at them all, see what they're like. And that's when I started looking at the websites. I use the Lunar and Planetary Institute website as being most easy for me to use. But there are other websites that you can go to see every single photograph taken allegedly on the lunar surface. And the more I looked, I was trained as a photographer. I know what photographs can and cannot do. They're two-dimensional objects of three-dimensional subjects. You have to take that into account. So when I started looking at these series of pictures, they're called contact sheets, where you've got the whole film magazine, don't forget film magazine, printed in sequence. So you could look at them and see what the photographer was trying to achieve in that particular occasion.
I do want to jump forward to, given that question was more about the alleged conspiracy behind all these different organizations, I want to jump to the next one. This one from Guy with Bearded Lizard. Well, let's see.
Hey.
What?
He obviously knows it.
Just recognize him as just saying hello.
Okay, let's see. He says, I don't agree with the hoax side. I'll just abbreviate it. That's the abridged version. LJ says, Darryl, what's your background? CGI and not a... Oh, they say, Darryl, why is your background CGI and not a real photo? I think they're trying to say that the Earth is flat and this is a cartoon ball in the background.
I'm glad you asked that. I actually keep this picture to show how stupid and delusional flat earthers are, dishonest flat earthers are. Because if I have a real picture up, they say it's fake anyway. Just deny it and say naturalized is fake. And then when I have a picture that somebody made on Photoshop or whatever, then they ask me why I don't have a real one. So that's obviously either dishonest or delusional, and that's why I keep it, because it's amusing to see you all react to that photo in such a dishonest way or a stupid way, whichever way it is.
Juicy, this one coming in from Ryan Beecham says, 4. Flatzoid, what hobbies will you take up once Flat Earth gets disintegrated by Will Duffy's Antarctica experiment?
Okay, first of all, Will Duffy's not an experiment, is a false dichotomy. Secondly, you first have to disprove all the other observations that do disprove a globe to say that what's going to happen in the sun is going to disprove it. Thirdly, I've done literally a demonstration about 3 nights ago showing how we can have 24-hour sun in Antarctica. So it's not really anything other than Will Duffy wasting money. No other thing to say.
I'd love to review that.
LJ says, why isn't spacesuits tech used for firefighters?
Because they're not designed to fight fires. They have stuff designed to fight fires that they wear instead.
This one from from DJ Moss says, could moon landing deniers explain why RF signal delay is the same kind as using lasers? And just saying without positive support isn't enough.
I already rebutted this saying it could just be any kind of rock that gives a reflective surface for that to happen. Like you're saying, they were actually doing these tests in World War II. They were doing them long before they supposedly put reflectors on there. The issue is not just making us try and prove something that you guys made the claim that the reflectors are there. First prove that's there before you claim people need to replace your burden of proof.
And also another point to do with the laser reflectors. There are, I believe, something like 10 different locations for the Apollo 11 laser reflector that are provided by NASA and various organizations who should know what they're talking about. Some of them are up to 20 kilometers different. Surely they know where it landed. I mean, you had Michael Collins circling the moon in his command module. Didn't he take any pictures of where his mates were, where Neil and Buzz were? And you could then identify precisely where it was. Now, the Mythbusters program demonstrated, rather inconclusively in my opinion, the use of a laser to reflect off the lunar surface. It was actually not real. That program wasn't real. It was conducted, I believe, at the Apache Point Observatory Lunar Landing Operation, Apollo, that makes. So guess what they were trying to do? Prove Apollo was real.
Yeah, VFX, using VFX.
Yeah,
they were using VFX to try prove something to be real by proving then it was just VFX.
Yeah. And there they are, Jamie and what's his name, were watching the monitor, and suddenly they see a little spike. What does that prove? You've got to use a reflecting dish to absorb the returning photons, which take up to 8 hours to generate sufficient power for any signal to exist. And don't forget, the moon is rotating, the Earth is spinning, so you've got to have all the necessary equipment to move and to drive your receiving dishes. Did that exist? No, it was a television program, it was entertainment. And they were there to demonstrate that the laser reflectors were producing a result. Well, anybody can do that on television. It's not difficult. It's called special effects. One thing that hasn't been mentioned, talking of special effects, a lot of the films that we see for Apollo were created using an optical printer. Now, anybody who's worked in film will know what an optical printer is. It does what a photocopier does with paper. It duplicates it as many times as you like. An optical printer will duplicate a film. It will remove frames, 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames. So if you shoot at high speed, you can get it back down to normal speed when you project it. It's not rocket science, it's the way it was done. Probably at Lookout Mountain Laboratory in Laurel Canyon, north of Los Angeles, where a lot of this was done. the special effects.
They still
But they
do
knew
it
what
today.
to do.
They still
Say
do
again?
it today. They still use that today with the layering when they try and actually use a mirror these days, where they actually mirror a object in the mirror and then it reflects onto another end there, and then it looks like it's laid on top of each other. They
Yeah.
still do that today.
Yeah, it's the same principle. It's duplicating pieces of film. You can create any speed you like. So to say that it was at lunar gravity speed, well, you think NASA would know what lunar gravity was by now, 1.6 meters per second, compared to Earth gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared.
This is a good opportunity.
Of course they could make it look like lunar gravity.
We'll jump to the next
That's
one.
that's not rocket science, that's optics.
This question coming in from LJ said, Globe side is only here to argue. Is NASA your God?
No,
Darryl, are you
NASA is not
worshiping?
my God.
Sorry for interrupting.
So I do have a slight affiliation with NASA though that I'm proud of, but it's very slight. I was a part of the NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars program. That's the project manager of our little project, and we won a little contest where we had to design a mock mission to either Mars or the Moon. We chose the Moon, and we had NASA scientists working with us. We had a mentor from NASA that I got to know, and it was pretty fun. And I was able to see some of the technology they're working on to get us to the moon. So it's pretty cool.
I'm glad you liked it. Of course, NASA would prove they got to the moon. That's their raison d'etre.
No. Let me be clear. What I'm saying is they plan on going back to the moon with the Artemis program. So part of the program was we were actually hearing from NASA scientists, and they were talking about what they're working on. For instance, the devices they're going to use to take the regolith from the moon and extract minerals from that, like oxygen and hydrogen and so forth. So in other words, this is technology that they're working on for the upcoming moon mission that I was able to see and talk to the scientists that's getting that together.
This one coming in
maybe
from
It's compartmentalization.
Maybe you should show him my bit of moon rock. Remember about 25 years ago, all the NASA moon rocks were stolen. Somebody walked in, took the filing cabinet in which they were then stored, put it in the back of his pickup truck and drove off.
Never happened.
All 840 pounds of it, 243 kilos. It's quite a lot. Not all of it was returned. Maybe this is one of them. I don't know. Is it moon rock? It looks like moon rock. Could be moon rock. If I say it's moon rock, as far as I'm concerned, it's moon rock. You'd disagree with me.
It's moon rock. Bob says, is it possible? Says, is it possible Zoid knows we landed on the moon, but argues we didn't just to troll? It's possible, so likely to be true.
No,
I think this is because
not.
earlier in the debate, I think that there was at one point there was the idea that someone conceded something's possible and said thus it's likely to be true. I think Flatzoid that you did, and I think they're trying to use their own reasoning against you.
No, I would say it's not possible because it goes against everything I believe so.
Just to point out what Marcus Allen said there about the moon rocks being stolen was a complete lie. That never happened.
Oh, if you say so, but I've seen the report saying it did happen, but obviously I bow to your...
Never happened the most.
Interrupting me. Oh, for Christ's sake. Give up.
Like the military personnel in a vacuum chamber. It never happened, yeah.
Let's... Marcus...
Show the bit where they leave 42
let's give Marcus a chance to finish the sentence he was on. He said that he had read it online. Presumably it wasn't like at Flatzoid's website. It was somewhere else you read it. We'll give you a chance, Marcus. Or was it at Flatzoid's? Flatzoid's not it. Go ahead, Marcus, we'll give you a chance.
I forget the website or the report it actually was, but somebody did go to prison for doing it. So I don't think he'd go to prison if it didn't happen.
It never happened. Yeah, no, he's just talking nonsense. It never happened.
Okay, now let's just say one thing here. You obviously believe that NASA is your God and everything that NASA says is true. Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Give Marcus a chance.
Look, I'm British. and I tend to be a little bit polite sometimes.
Yes.
And I also get, you see, he's done it again.
All right, flat Earth, or
You
fight the
just
flat Earth.
have to learn a little bit of manners. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's just decency and human interaction. So, I forgot what I was talking about now. I got so excited about that.
I know that you had mentioned someone was put in prison, but I think so. Fight the Flat Earth. I think you're saying because Fight the Flat Earth was objecting. You said, but wait a minute, there was somebody that went to prison over this. Fight the Flat Earth. Do you want to respond? I'm asking you to unmute now.
Yeah, no, there's just no evidence of that ever happening.
I actually have the names. I actually have the names if you want to know.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Roberts, McQuarter, and Fowler. 3 people charged with killing. Dinosaur, what? No, that's dinosaur boats. Never mind, I got the wrong one. Oh, wait. There, Roberts, Thad Roberts.
That's right, Ted Roberts.
Thad Roberts, there we go. That's the right one.
Yep.
This one from DCA and DC says, I'm convinced by the argument that, quote, too many people were involved for it to be a hoax, unquote. Does anyone want to address this argument? I think maybe they're saying, like, what are the odds they have so many people and there are no whistleblowers?
It's mostly based on compartmentalization. So just like Darryl here, he went and he was in a program. He believes what he's doing is true. He believes it's working. You understand? Remember, there's a lot of how I'm sorry to say it, scams work is a lot of promises, and you're working for those promises and you don't get the payout of those promises. This is why no one's gone, quote unquote, back to the moon in 50 years, because they keep on having to delay it because they haven't figured out how to do that in the first place. So it's easy to get people to believe they're going to get there once they've been there, but no one's been there in the first place. It's not hard to
I believe I
understand.
should be able to respond to that. So, 2 things. First of all, you talk about scams. When you're a plain liar, when you lied and deceived people with red rhetoric video, when you took the frames out that video, you was even on this channel trying to argue you only took 4 frames out. When you took out, they were saying you took out 11. You said you took out 4.
I can show you the video with all the frames. Now, and secondly, why are you trying to?
I was talking. I'll let you talk. I was responding.
No,
you
are
are
attacking my
let's give
character.
Daryl.
You talk.
I do want to give
I
Daryl
was
a chance
responding.
to
I'll let you
finish
talk.
his sentence.
He's
Let's give
attacking my
Daryl a
character.
chance to
James.
finish.
This isn't right.
We're going to give you a chance.
character.
We're going to give you a chance to respond.
You
I do want to just let
you-
Daryl finish his. We'll give you maybe 30 seconds, and then it sounds like Flatzoid is burning to respond.
So it's confirmed that you're a liar and a deceiver. Not right, because you took those frames out that video and talking about attacking character. You're talking about NASA people who some of them I know they're honest, and you're attacking my character saying I was tricked. So the second thing is, why don't you let us know tell me exactly how it was set up and what deception or compartmentalization was there specifically in my program. Let us know how that compartmentalization was set up and so forth.
Ready for
Specifically,
your Flatzoid.
and what I was doing and who I was talking to.
We'll give you a full minute or so, Flatzoid, to respond.
Okay, first of all, did you notice he attacked my personality, my character, after just saying this is what NASA unfortunately does? It's based on compartmentalization. I was just using you as an example because you went through a program that showed that. Now he's trying to attack a lie because I can show you the video now where all the frames are in the video. The difference is I'm not the one attacking someone's character here. You are. That shows you to be the one wrong. And yes, it's sad to say they are scamming people because they're making you believe you're going to a place that you can't go to.
Give us specifically what the compartmentalization was, what the trickery was, where I was fooled in that program, and how you lie. Tell me specifically where I was tricked there.
Very simple. Just like when the people built the Apollo rockets.
No.
You were talking about me and you want me to answer, now you talk over me.
You're not
Just
answering.
like
You're talking about something else. Tell me about where I was tricked and compartmentalized of what you said.
Have some human
Give
dignity.
a full 60 seconds to Flatzoid. Go ahead. You got 60 seconds, Flatzoid.
Sure, thanks, James. Okay, so just like when Apollo were building the rocket, they commissioned people to paint the bolts, to put the chair in, to do the module, to do that. They getting paid for it. Why would they believe they're not going to the place that they're getting paid for? That's called compartmentalization. Just like you're getting someone who's pressing a button. I pressed the button, so therefore they went to the moon. It's the same as when you just got won that competition, you said, and you've done a simulation now, and you heard about technology they are working on to get people to moon. There's a reason why they haven't been to the moon, quote unquote, for over 50 years. I don't know how to break it to you, but it's just how it works. You can't just trust anybody just because they say you're going there. This is the real life, man.
Yeah. And just one point on compartmentalization. It's a military activity that is basically, it means you know enough to do your own job and you don't need to know anything else. As long as you do your own job properly, you're fine.
Were you ever military?
Say again?
Were you ever military? Just out of interest.
Yes, because the US Air Force was brought in after the Apollo 1 disaster to get the program back on track. And they introduced the compartmentalization to ensure that people concentrated on what they needed to do. That's all they needed to do. As far as it being a hoax, these people were not hoaxing anything. They were doing the very best job they could. They were building the best rockets, the best landers, the best control systems, the best everything. They were very proud to be part of this program. They were not part of any hoax. So let's get away from that. The maybe 5 million people involved, they were not part of anything. They were true patriotic Americans. And we should be very proud of what they've achieved, because a great deal came out of that program. It was basically a program initiated by the US government to spread money as far as possible across America in order that more people would be employed, more work could be done, more technology would be developed. And that was a very noble program to achieve. And they did it. Things came out of the work that was being done. One of the things that did not come out of that program was landing humans on the lunar surface. Now, if you choose to believe they did, that's entirely your prerogative. I believe in three things.
30 seconds.
Okay, I believe in Father Christmas, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny. For everything else, I want evidence.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if like 60 seconds to close up or something.
If I could just get 30 seconds to just respond to the moon rock thing properly.
We'll do 40. We'll split the difference. Let's do 45 seconds from each. Flatzoid, or I'm sorry.
I'd like to respond to the thing we were talking about before we finish, please, if that's okay. I've been waiting for him to stop rambling so I can just have 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, is you got 45 seconds, then Daryl's got 45 seconds, then we're going to the next question.
Yeah. So so the moon rocks. Mr. Allen's claim of all of them being stolen is complete fabrication. What happened was 101 grams, which is about what this weighs, were taken by an intern, and then there was an FBI sting to find them. The claim of all the moon rocks being stolen is a lie, because the only way you can be a moon landing denier is to accept lies. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. I've been waiting patiently. The reason I keep interrupting this gentleman is because he fucking talks a lot.
Darryl,
what?
Chance?
Right, 45 seconds. So with Flatzoid, just like with the second law of dynamics, he mentioned that can't back it up with anything at all resembling second law of thermodynamics stuff. He just had to start changing the subject to asking me about generalities. Just like when he mentioned compartmentalization about my program, can't give any specific how it's compartmentalized because he has no clue, no idea. He probably never even heard of that program until I mentioned it. Then he has the nerve to mention character assassination when he's the one that mentioned them compartmentalizing and scamming people, when he's the one who's a specific direct liar by misrepresenting Reds in that video. So it's clear what's going on here. That's all I have to say.
We'll jump to the next one. This one from Ark says, Flatzoid, I know you don't believe we've been to space. I heard you say last night that the Starship launch could be just a hologram. How would it work, and do you have any evidence of its existence?
Obviously, I don't have evidence of it. I'm just saying it could be a hologram. I'm not saying it is a hologram. There's two different things. It was just a discussion we had on the stream last night. So, yeah.
Got it. This
I'm
one
making
from
claims.
DJ Moss says correction. Moon landing. Okay, say what is it? They say deniers. What's the other way that you'd refer to it? Moon landing skeptics. Okay.
Yeah.
Ray Callagher says to test the suits, you only need the appropriate differential, not a hard vacuum. Anyone feel
Yeah,
compelled to respond?
I asked what the pressure differential was so that we could point that out, that's what we need to be able to test. But unfortunately, Mr. Allen talked about 6 hours, so I wasn't able to get there.
Exaggeration is your strong suit there.
This is
Don't
don't worry,
That's what I'm
Marcus.
saying.
Craig has a way with people, so you're not the only one to feel a little bit like, okay. That's this one from Ellipse. Chris says, how many frames did Flatzoid remove in special effect?
Can I quickly share my
As
screen?
far as my understanding, when Reyes looked at it, some say it was 11, but the fact is he put out a video where he didn't state that clearly. And he tried to make it look like it was something that it wasn't, because he's a liar and a deceiver. He's all the things he's saying NASA is. This was
Okay, this is my video. This is my video for Darryl.
Hold on 1 second. We're going to give you a chance. I accidentally had myself on mute. I'm a rookie over here. What their question originally was, if you couldn't piece it together based on Darryl's response, is they had said, how many frames did Flatzoid remove in special effect? Go ahead,
Okay.
Flatzoid.
Everybody count with me how much frames I just removed. This is the original. Oh my boy, did I remove frames there? Everybody, did I remove frames? Should I remind again? I'm sure I'm showing all the frames there. All the frames are there, correct? Great. Now we move on to my point. Wait. Now we move on to my point where I freeze it and I say, look, it's an inferior mirage. I remove the frames that's only in the inferior mirage, which is 4 frames. Then they go and say, I was dishonest and took the Earth curve away. So that's practically all that happened.
So to clarify, I think from both sides here, Flatzoid put out a video where he both showed the entirety of Red's video and the part where he removed the frames. Would you say that is fair, Flatzoid?
Always. That's what I've always been saying.
And
But the thing is, I get the dishonesty saying, no, you dishonest. You lied. You just took all the frames out. I just showed you all the frames in my original video. So don't come and talk rubbish and try and misrepresent me again, because that's just showing you have no argument. Thank you.
Right, Flatzoid, do you mind if I just try and put this issue to bed slightly from both sides? Okay, I think it's fair to say that Flatzoid did remove frames. So if Flatzoid claims he didn't remove frames, then he would be lying. However, in the same video that he removed the frames, he also presented all of the frames. And in my opinion, his intention was to show the difference between the two and what he assumed was just a mirage. So Flatzoid, just to be clear, you did in that video remove some frames, yes?
Yes.
But you also in that video
showed all the frames. And I was showing exactly what would happen if you took the inferior mirage away, because I was showing clearly that the inferior mirage was mistaken for Earth curve. That was the whole argument. Instead, I get people like Darryl misrepresenting what I said and calling me a liar without anything other than parroting Red's rhetoric.
Well, if I was mistaken about that, I apologize.
But a lot of people have given the argument, oh, Flatzoid says he never deleted frames. And, I've heard Flatzoid say that, but, for the sake of fairness, could have been out of context. Yes, he removed frames, but in the same video, for the sake of fairness on all sides, he also showed all of the frames. That's my understanding of the situation. That's what I have to say on it.
Thank you, Craig.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question as well. Ray Callahar says, to test the suits, you only need the appropriate differential, not a hard vacuum. Did I read that?
Yeah, because they say the percentage of the differential is what's being tested.
This from Eclipse Chris. So we got that one. Logic says, Flatzoid, have you seen a baggies, like a plastic bag, Ziploc bag, hold air? That is the type of zippers used on suits.
No, it's actually zippers. You should actually take a look at the zippers. It's not like Ziploc bag zips. Ziploc bags are two wedged in compartments. The zippers used are zips.
You got it.
Which don't hold air.
Jiffwald says Earth loses tons of helium to outer space every year. So either there's a hole in your magic glass / water / ice / crystal dome, or Earth is not flat.
Or they're just believing what's being told.
Ooh, juicy. Okay, this one coming in from... I forget. They say, why did the Apollo astronauts act like their families died the previous night that they were making a hostage statement in the post-press conference? That they said this is for Darryl and Fight the Flat Earth. I didn't know this is the case. What do you guys think?
Say that
So
one more
what-
time, please.
Yeah, could you repeat the question, sorry?
Why
He
did
was,
the Apollo...
he was
Why
just saying that they were very sad looking, like someone
Let me hear
died.
the question, please. Let me hear directly what it was.
They say,
I'm
why,
just
why,
reiterating for you.
they say, why did the Apollo astronauts act like their families died the previous night they were making a hostage statement in the post-press conference?
Right, to be
I'm
clear,
not aware of that situation at all.
okay, I know exactly what they're talking about. So there is a lot of clips and screenshots of the astronauts looking rather dour. However, if you watch the entire conference, which was quite lengthy, there's many occasions where they're laughing and joking and smiling, even with the people that they're talking with and with each other. So yeah, I could take a video of anybody talking for 10 minutes and take screenshots and say, oh, look how sad this person is. But in the same video, I could say, oh, look how happy they are. If you watch the entire thing, they are three guys that have just come back from space doing a massive press conference showing a range of emotions. Simple as that.
You got it?
I would
And he
actually
was-
agree with that.
Really? Wow. Look at you guys. So 2 peas in a pod. This one coming in from...
Hold on, this isn't right. Flatzoid, I hate you, Dick. Fuck you.
This one coming
I don't
in...
agree with that though.
Eclipse Chris says, you got called out and had to come clean, Flatzoid. This one from Truthfinder says, Flatzoid asked Marcus if the Earth is flat. I think they're wanting to pit you guys against each other. They say also, Flatzoid, will you ever show the unedited 11 frames?
I just did.
Juicy.
That was the video.
That's actually, I think that's all our questions that we have here. So I want to say, folks, thank you for our guests. They're the lifeblood of the channel. And I also want to say a huge thank you, as they are such good sports. We literally changed the topic of the debate 2 minutes before we started, and they were such good sports, and they were like, we can make it work. So I am so grateful. They're linked below. They're not only linked below here on YouTube, but also in the podcast. So if you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can find our guest links in the description box there too. But we appreciate our guests. Thank you guys. It's been a true pleasure. Fight the Flat Earth. Darryl, Marcus Allen, and Flatzoid, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you
Really
very
Thank you,
much.
Jack.
It's been
My
fun.
pleasure.
Thank you.
I'll be back in just a moment, folks, so stick around for a post-credit scene where I'll let you know about upcoming debates. I'll be back in about 25 seconds.
Yeah. I'm not dying. Get out of here. Not dying.
ladies and gentlemen, want to say thank you for being here. Oh, that's right. Let me do a little camera input here. Want to say, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. We have many more debates coming up. Also, though, maybe you're like, James, is it true Lloyd Christmas in the chat is going to send those feet pics if we get to 250 likes? That is true. And we're only 33 likes away from Lloyd sending those tremendous feet pics. Tremendous. They're the best. But want to say, you guys, we appreciate you. Thank you for making modern day debate fun. The speakers, I can't thank them enough. They are the lifeblood of the channel. I'm going to tweak this a little bit. Got the, there we go. All right. Thanks for your patience. I'm still here. Don't worry. All right. Want to say, thanks for your patience. I appreciate you being subscribed. We are very excited. This is our biggest milestone yet. MCMC, thanks for your super chat. Says, hey, James, it's Steven/Riley from back in the days. Wow, thanks. It's good to see you, man. Steven, aka Riley. That's right. Thanks for your patience and flexibility with me and those unique names, namely. But yes, right, unique name. But the point is this, my friends. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for being a subscriber. A huge milestone coming up as we're about to hit 200,000, and our goal is that by the end of 2025, so in about a year roughly, our goal is to hit 250,000. So we do want to shoot for that. We're excited about that. That really does help. Your subscribing helps probably more than hitting the like button. Here's how. If we reach out to a new speaker and we say, hey, would love to host you, want to invite you, come on, we'd love to have you debate so-and-so, fight the flat earth, Flatzoid, etc. And they're like, I've never heard of this channel, like modern day debate. Let me check them out. What do you think is the first thing that they look at when they're considering going on a channel? They check out the subscriber count. Like that's kind of the vanity metric. It's kind of like the heuristic statistic. It's the thing that they just kind of like, oh, okay. And they don't even look at, now this is like, it, frankly, it should be that they look at like, what are the view counts on their most recent videos? Like, because there are sometimes like channels with like 1 million subscribers, but their videos only get like 5,000 views or something because they're just old news. They're not as relevant, something like that. But nonetheless, how the world works is they look at subscriber numbers. That's how most people do it. So that does help. So I do want to say thank you because I know that if I see you in the live chat right now, that means you're subscribed because they put subscribers only mode. So I do want to personally thank you for being a subscriber, including DTC. Thank you for being a subscriber. Neil D, thank you. I Killed Earl, thanks for being both a subscriber and a member. Says, thank you, Dr. Coons. I appreciate that. Thank you. Jim on the Coast, thanks for being a subscriber. Said, I subscribed today. Thanks, Jim, for subscribing. For real. And like I said, that seriously, we do appreciate likes. That's true. But a subscribe really does because people look at that like a potential guess. That's the first thing they look at. And if it was like, let's say 4,000, nothing wrong with 4,000. We've been there before. But if they were 4,000, they're probably like, man, it's like, I don't know. But when it's in the hundreds of thousands, that's when they're kind of like, yeah, I probably could get some exposure from my own social media, even if they're bigger than us. Maybe they have 500,000 or something. They might say, huh, there's probably some new people that haven't heard about me over there. Samus, Christus, Max Aurelius the Great. Thanks for coming by. Thank you. Oh, that's right. Did I miss your super chat? I feel like I didn't read it. So yeah, if I did miss it, and I think I did miss yours, because I thought you did put in a super chat. So shoot me oh, you're right. I did. I am so, gosh, I think I mixed, I might have missed two. But yeah, if I did miss your super chat, moderndaydebate@gmail.com is my email. And so as long as your insult, or as long as your super chat didn't have an insult, if you have an insult in your super chat, we're like, we're not going to read it. And we're not even, it's not going to burden us with us having to refund you if you put an insult, because we don't want people putting insults in the live chat toward our guests. It's cool to, you could say, attack the argument, of course. But when you attack the person, like, oh, that person's like hairline, or that person's the way they dress, or whatever, it's like, our guests aren't going to want to come back if they see that. So I know that yours did not have an insult in it. To do G Samus Christus Max. I know that yours did not have an insult. So I do owe you for that. So if you email me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com, you can talk about options. One being I can just send you the $5 back. Another one is we can pay it forward as future super chats. So we give you 2 questions next debate where we say, hey, if you're willing to pardon us for this one, we'll give you 2 questions for the next 2 debates, almost like credits, just to make it up to you. But yeah, I want to say thank you for your support. Aaronism, thanks for being here, as well as Sobo Happians. Am I saying it right? Thanks for being a subscriber. Silasnitai, thank you for being a subscriber. Arway Man, am I saying it right? Thanks for being a subscriber. And let me see here. You are like I said, to do G Samus. Like I said, I'm at moderndaydebate@gmail.com. And they say, pay it forward, I'll be back. Okay, I will remember. Let me write this down. No joke. I'm going to write your name down, and I'm going to put my sticky pad that I use here on every debate. Let me just write this down really quick. I-O. Two. And then, yes, I've got your name down, so thanks for your patience. And thank you for being a subscriber. As well as Eon Flutter, thanks for being a subscriber. Alex, thanks for being a subscriber. It says, please hire less biased mods. I think we had any mods here today. I think this is an unusual time for our debates. We never used to do Saturday morning debates, but now we do sometimes. I kind of like them. So we're starting to do them more often, but our mods are not yet into the habit. So I don't think we had any here this morning, but let's see. Let's see. Papa Geezer says, pay it forward. Great idea and good choice. Thanks. I appreciate that. It makes it easier on me. Let's see. Neil D. Thanks for being a subscriber. Obi-Wan. Doug Loby. That's funny. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a subscriber. The truth has been revealed. Amazing. Thanks for being a subscriber. Let's see. DTC says, are you secretly flat earth, James? No, I love my flat earth friends. I got flat earth friends, no joke. Don't miss out on having friends from people of different walks of life. It's don't let those things separate you. I've got family members, like without going into detail, I disagree with my family members on like everything. I'm like the black sheep, but I love my family so much. So don't let that separate you. And likewise, I've got a lot of friends, close friends that, are there for me on like, the hardest things that we don't agree on these things, but it doesn't matter. Like we care about each other. NetTube user, thanks for your kind words. Raul Asaurus Rex, thanks for coming by. Thanks for being a subscriber. And Ben, thanks for being a subscriber. Me, thanks for being a subscriber. Says hot mic. Was there a hot mic at the end there? Spielkalb von Sparta, thank you for being a subscriber. Christopher Allen, thanks for being a subscriber. Killa 3, thank you for your support. Thanks for being here. And I'm excited to go out for a walk. It's a tremendous day here. I just moved to Phoenix. I don't know if you guys know anybody in the live chat from Phoenix? Anybody from the desert more broadly, whether it be the Southwest desert in the US or elsewhere? I love it here so far. So I've been here only about 2 weeks. Almost, yeah, pretty much exactly. And I love it. I just love that it's so dry. Everything dries really quickly. That seems like a small thing. Like you'd be like, what? Like, how does that, But it is cool that like I take my clothes, I hang them outside, and if they're in the sun, I'm not joking. If it's a hot day and they're in the sun, they can dry in like 5 minutes. It's so cool. Because where I grew up, like much more humid. But yes, Sobo Hapians, thanks for being here. And Hannah Anderson, thanks for being here. Oh, MXXXD is here. I'm sorry, bro. Max, I feel like I didn't see you as much. I know that you were here, but sorry, bro. Thank you for being a mod. Seriously, Max, appreciate that. Thank you to all of our mods. Hannah Anderson has been here too. I'm sorry, Hannah, but you came in late, at least. I know that. Riley Bowe, thanks for coming by. Stacy Lewis, thanks for coming by. Stacy Lewis lives in the Nevada desert. I love it. Roger Ledwell says, I'm from Flagstaff. Wow. Roger Ledwell also says, I used to live in Tempe. Oh, that's where I go work out. I've got my gym in Tempe. It's like a 10-minute drive. I'm in Scottsdale, so I just drive down 10 minutes. My Planet Fitness, tremendous. I love Planet Fitness. You know, we used to be, they were like a sponsor. Whenever we have a sponsor, it's usually just an affiliate link. So we don't get paid by them for plugging them. It's more that if you use their link that we give you in the description box, we don't do it anymore. It just, not enough people signed up for it. It was just kind of like, meh, I don't know if this is worth cluttering, modern day debate. Michael King says, you look tired. I am a little bit tired, to be honest. Right now, I'm feeling pretty, like, during the first half of that debate, I was like, wow, I'm like really dragging. These debates kind of tire me out. I realized that last night, and I'm always kind of probably doing a little bit too much. I'm always trying to like get a lot done. I'm excited, but there is such a thing as, I should rest. I should be a little bit better at resting because I'm just like, oh. But long story short, I realized last night it was like a 2.5 hour debate. But it occurred to me this morning, it's different from most work that I do because there are no breaks. It's like pure, like other than if I step away to go to the bathroom for a couple of minutes, it's just pure focused on the live chat, focusing on the debate, trying to like balance those things. So it's like a lot of like not thinking about anything else at all. It's trying to keep things on track, and that's like when you do that for 2.5 hours straight, it is actually like kind of draining. So, ooh, but let's see. Mary Harrison, thanks for coming by. Says Anya, Dr. James from Brizzy QLD, Australia. Wow, cool. Thanks for watching. I love that we do it at this time of day, which to me, it's actually so at 12 p.m. Eastern for those on the East Coast, because most Americans, like 50%, I think it's like 50 or so, live on the East Coast. Like roughly those states that are on the ocean on the East. So they're not all like literally on the coast in terms of being able to drive to the beach in 20 minutes. But I mean those states that line up on the East Coast, like 50% or so. So we usually try to cater to that time zone because most viewers are from there. Ooh, that's my bottle. However, we do have a lot of viewers. So anyway, for me in Phoenix right now, it was like 9 a.m. at the start of this debate on a Saturday, so I was a little tired waking up. But we do have. I love that we have people who watch from Australia, a good number, and then the most views that we get from any single city in the whole world. It's not actually New York City, which you'd maybe expect because it's, we do get most views from the US and it's the biggest city in the US. And then, like I said, we try to even like cater our schedule to Eastern time. So usually, like, we always try to make sure that people on the East Coast are still awake. It's actually London. London is like a really supportive city, and England more broadly too, of modern day debate. So we appreciate that. And any other cool cities? I'm curious, like where everybody else is. Wow, Mary Harrison says it's 4:45 in the morning here. That's amazing. You were up early, Mary. That's hardcore. Now, anybody else from any other places? New name pending, says Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. Oi, oi, oi. Thank you for being here. That's cool. I went to Australia for the first time just this summer. It was cold. I never knew it could be cold. All the pictures and all the time that I see, I think of the outback. I went down to where was it? It wasn't Perth. It was not Sydney. Melbourne. I went to Melbourne and it was great. Everybody was really friendly. I actually was super charmed. Australians gave off a vibe to me, and this is like limited time and exposure, right? So it's like one city for like 3 or 4 days. But I just got a vibe of even at the airport, like the TSA people. I don't know what you call them there. Your airport security people. They were kind of like easygoing and enjoying life and not pissed. Because a lot of the TSA, not all, not all, not all, at all, but a lot of the airport security in the US seem like they're probably are stressed. And maybe it is I can't imagine, I can imagine it could be a stressful job. But like in Aussie, like the people at the airport security were like joking with me and just playful. And it was like a really charming, like, oh, this is like a fun place to be. And Anderson says, James, do you miss Colorado? Colorado was good, but the thing I like about Phoenix is that I don't really care for cold weather. I don't like snow. I'm not super into like cold temperatures, so I think Phoenix is great for me. I think I might I like it here so far. I'm kind of curious about Albuquerque. The cost of living is a little bit lower. I'm a very frugal guy, so I'm always looking for like like a house would be appreciably cheaper there. So when I think about buying a home, I'm like, yeah, maybe Albuquerque could be good. But conspiracy music guru, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for your support. Matt B, thanks for being here. Says St. George, Utah for work. Wow. It says Mormons are not, or it says Mormons are weird. Wow. But you know what? They might, I'm pretty weird myself and I'm not Mormon, but I will tell you this. Mormons are so nice. They're very pleasant. Their demeanor on average is very friendly and kind of almost like Australians, like just happy, easygoing. I have to give that credit. This MCMC says Portland, Oregon. You're welcome to visit. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That is really cool. Huh, Steven. You ended up in Portland, Oregon. That's the other thing too, is it doesn't rain here. So I hope you're doing okay. But Portland isn't too rainy. It's not as bad as Oregon's is it as rainy as Washington State can be? Let me know. Let's see. Wow, Mystic Wolf says I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. That's cool. Okay. And I want to go there. I haven't been there. Michael King says watching from Scotland here, 7:45 p.m. Cool. I haven't been to Scotland yet. I want to see Scotland. I got to go there. That's really cool. Let's see here. Real Wayman says, "Can you hire AI as a lawyer?" Man, you really should be able to. My you guys have probably heard this and thought of this as well. But it's kind of like we thought that AI would take away all the jobs that were like physical labor jobs, right? Even like a cashier, like now they have the kiosk where you can just go to McDonald's and pay on a kiosk. Um, it seems though that even easier for AI, because they're not necessarily easier for AI, but easier for corporations is to create jobs, or I should say fulfill jobs that you don't have to have any sort of physical stuff doing it. Like if you can have AI that's just in the internet, like loosely speaking, like it's just in the cloud, like it doesn't need physical parts to like get tasks done. Well, then the type of work tasks you want to have it do isn't physical labor, because if it doesn't have any physical, you know, metal arms or something, it can't do that. But it's cheaper if you don't have those physical metal arms doing, work. You don't have to worry about the hardware. You only have to worry about the software. And in that case, jobs that can be done online, um, like the knowledge workers, a lot of professional jobs seems like they could potentially be, in part, AI could be maybe be more quickly useful, because this may be like cheaper if you don't have to worry about the physical part, the hardware. Hannah Anderson says Vancouver, Washington is in the banana belt. I don't know what that means. That sounds weird. But says Luke Legend says greetings from Winchester, Hampshire, England. Love this channel. Thanks, Luke. I appreciate that. I'm trying to. I can't. Winchester, Hampshire. I'm trying to. Is that anywhere near London? I don't know, to be honest. But it's my reference point. I saw Stonehenge though, a little bit outside of London. I saw Stonehenge and it was amazing. I killed Earl says Raleigh, North Carolina. I love it here. Don't want to live anywhere else. This is. I know that it's a cool place. I was just in. Or no, I was in. I've been to North Carolina though in my life. It was a road trip we drove through. I didn't get to stop and enjoy it though. NetTube user says France, nearby Paris, 8 p.m. Wow, that's cool. Thanks for watching. And let's see. I'm gonna get out of here in a second. DJ New Moon says we live in a cartoon. Thank you, DJ, for that. But thank you guys for all your support. I love you. Ron J, thanks for coming by. Want to say I love you guys. Thanks for your support. We're excited about the future. There are big things coming here at Modern Day Debate. We'll probably have a flat Earth debate in the next couple of weeks, because the guys that debated today, they were debating the moon landing, but originally, actually, I told them it was going to be flat Earth, and then we actually, like a minute before the debate started, switched to the moon landing. So, oh, okay, Luke, you are near London then. If you're only 35 miles from Stonehenge, that's cool. Is long story short, we'll probably have a flat Earth debate in the next couple of weeks with some of the guys from today, because It was my mistake, by the way, that we had that confusion on the topic. And then, yeah. So that's cool. And we'll also, let's see, good to see you as well. I killed Earl. Thank you. And we'll also have probably a Trump versus Harris tag team 2v2 debate. That's like potentially, I'm not for sure. But yes, want to say thank you guys for all your support. We're excited about the future. We will see you at the next debate. Keep an eye out as Modern Day Debate is striving to provide a neutral platform where everybody has their chance to make their case on a level playing field. That's what's important to us because we believe YouTube deserves a better class of debate channel, a neutral one, and we're going to give it to them. So thank you guys for your support. We'll see you at the next debate. Amazing. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Thanks, folks, and we'll see you next time.